Oh man, here it is. Old school law supplemental 15.1 for the Super Nintendo. I am hyped for this. Of course, as you know, my co-pilot over here on this side, Wolfman.
What's up, everyone?
We got down below me, D Thomas from NC back in the house.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
And then right over that direction, that way, that way, that way, that way. Endgame Arcade back again. Thanks for coming, you guys.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, so we wanted to hit this one kind of fast, hot, and heavy because we had such a great time hanging out with each other on the first Law episode covering Super Nintendo, and we just had to get a little bit more. Like, it's been on us. If you guys knew like the conversations that we have through our chats and stuff, it's like, dude, we got all these games that we're talking about, and it just sparking all these memories. It's like, we got to get back together. We got to get back together now and strike because it's on our minds. So thanks again, guys, for coming and hanging out. Hey, Wolfman.
Yes.
We don't necessarily have to talk about the system again, but I'm just gonna touch on it. Everybody knows Super Nintendo. This is the old school Super Nintendo, but Wolfman's gonna show you another something sexy. That's the Brazilian version. When I say Brazilian, that means no hair, no frills.
Correct. This is the top loader version of what Dan's holding up over there. So that's the OG version, and this would be like the, I don't know, like the version 2, I guess you would say. I mean, Nintendo did the same thing. They had their OG version, and then they came out with the top loader and the dog bone controllers. And this would be similar to that. I mean, both systems work great, but it's just a matter of when you bought your system, which one you were going to get.
Hey, I see back there in the background Endgame too, up on your top. You got that classic. Yeah, DT was talking about that.
Yep.
Is that the mini?
Mm-hmm.
Look at
Oh,
that.
do you have it? Do you have like? Do you just have the original games that it came with, or do you have it like unlocked or have more games?
Yeah, there's more than the 20 or so that goes on there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how it works.
You know it, DT.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So because we don't have to necessarily talk about hardware this time, we get to spend all the time making jokes and talking about the games that meant something to us. And so we're just going to pull out a few more games. Of course, we're not going to be able to cover everything, but that's just how we roll. So
We're gonna cover everything.
No. All of it. 5-hour episode.
All night.
5 hours. No, that's not. No. So because we had DT on the last one and Wolf, of course, and myself. Since we got the new guest talking to us about Super Nintendo, I want to start off with Endgame and see what he has to bring to the table on a game that he wants to talk about first off.
Sure. The first one that I'm going to talk about, you guys hit all the heavy hitters that I had as a kid. Loved them all. Absolutely just knocked them out of the park in the last episode. But one of them that you guys missed, that you didn't miss because it's just great, is one that I'm sure all of you guys love, and that's Super Mario Kart. And I did have this one growing up as a kid. Love this game. Actually, most of my memories were going to my friend's house. We'd ride our bikes across town, and we'd all go and play. And back on Super Nintendo, 2 players was enough at the time. You're used to just trading back and forth your controller on Mario World. So for Mario Kart to have 2 people battling at the same time, it was awesome. Even if we had 3 or 4 people, we would say winner stays, loser has to pass the controller. And it was just a really good time. Mario Kart's obviously still on modern day consoles now. Even with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you have the booster pass, which has like the Bowser's Castle from this game. So it's so great that it's still living today. Mario Kart also had awesome tracks in it. Like you had the Boo Ghost Valley track where you
I
could
remember
use
that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where you could use like the feather to get the shortcuts and stuff like that. Yep, risk reward though, because if you're in first place, you're probably going the safe way around. But if you're in last place or third place, you got to get that shortcut. And then of course you have the battle mode where you can battle each other as well. Everybody has their favorite character in Mario Kart. And then one other notable thing about Mario Kart is if you were playing against a computer, you always had your rival character, Yoshi. He's just chucking those eggs right in front of you, wiping you out. So yeah, Mario Kart, classic game, spawned off a massive franchise, but it all started here on the Super Nintendo, Mode 7 graphics, And I'm sure all of you guys have memories from Mario Kart as well.
Indeed. I know I do.
Go for it.
Mario Kart, like you said, that's where it all started. And since Mario Kart has dropped back on the SNES, look at how many other Mario Kart, I ain't gonna say wannabes, but you can see
Mhm.
the inspiration in the kart racers. Like recently,
Look at
you know,
this
you got
goddamn
Crash,
light
you got
working.
what's up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
I was saying it in my head. I said I can't get the goddamn light working. Okay.
All right.
Oh, technical
Here we go.
difficulties
Sorry
on
about that,
Wolfman.
D.
Oh no. So you got Crash Bandicoot Racing, you got Sonic Team Racing. I think Nickelodeon has a racer out, and then I know Disney just came out with Disney. I don't know if it's
Speedstorm?
called Speed Storm.
Yep.
Yeah, Disney, that Speed Storm. And if you don't know, Disney, I forgot, I think it was Black Mountain. I can't remember the
Black
team
Rock?
that produced Black Rock. They produce Split Second, and you can see some split second elements within that Disney Speedstorm. If I had $1 billion, I would start make a split second too. But yeah, go off what Endgame was saying. Mario Kart is where it all started at, and you know, my wife and I, we still play Mario Kart to this day, and we still battle it out on Baby Park. It's crucial on
Oh,
150 cc's. You already know, right?
From the GameCube. Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. Diddy Kong Racing was another great one.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Oh,
It all started on Super Nintendo with what, 12 tracks? And then you unlock like the Star Cup, the Special Cup, those sorts of things. And it's so cool that the later versions of Mario Kart had the retro cups. What, like I mentioned earlier, with Bowser's Castle coming back, you get that awesome remix music and playing your favorite tracks, but now they're totally new elements. You can fly in them, go underwater. A cool way revisiting your classic games. But you can always go back and play the original on Super Nintendo. It still holds up. Difficult, very, very tough game, like a lot of early, Nintendo, Super Nintendo games were. But yeah, definitely a classic.
That
Yeah,
mode 7. Go ahead.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can go
yeah.
to first. You can go to first place to last place in a blink of an eye, man. That's how Mario Kart is.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's like that Ricky Bobby, just about. Let's change it up just a little bit. When you're
Yeah.
first, you're gonna be last because that blue shell is coming. That's-
Oh yeah, but
and it's,
hey, you can stop that blue shell though. Well,
Yes.
if you got
yeah,
the
you
little,
put on the brakes and let the dude
jukebox.
fly right by you.
Oh
With
yeah,
the
you can do that.
horn.
Isn't there like a horn or
Yeah,
something?
the
you
horn.
could-
Yeah, the
the
horn.
smash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
Or if
first
you're
place
lucky,
shell
you
wasn't in the original Mario Kart, though.
No.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, that I just remember playing Mario Kart and it caught my. There's a few other racing games on Super Nintendo that mode 7 and how smoothly it would move around. You know, as your car, you still jump and your car would pivot, but it would keep it still kind of. You're looking at the back, the direction that your car's traveling. It was always there, and it was so smooth and fluid. And you didn't have like today we have lots of like pop up and random stuff. You didn't really have any pop up. You look, of course, it was pretty basic tracks, but just a dope game, totally different than anything out there. Like when it came around, you remember like when that popped up, people were like, "What is this?" Because we didn't have any of those battle racing type games around there, and that's our and so that one has always been like the first foray for me into actually liking those kind of arcadey battle racers was and I grew that love from the Super Nintendo.
Well, and of course, that was one of the first spin-offs for Mario. And he went into doing RPGs, tennis, all that stuff you guys talked about in the last one. That was one of the first ones that he spawned off of his side-scrolling platformers. So that was a big, big milestone moment for him too.
Well, they've been milking Mario since the Nintendo because the regular Mario, and then he became a doctor. He was in Doctor Mario.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then another game that I'm gonna pick that I see nobody else pick. That we'll talk about that later when they come around to me. But yeah,
dude, they've been
Heck
on that Mario for so long. You think about it, not even consoles. You're going back to like the Mario Brothers. Remember the arcade where there's like the pipes, and then him and Donkey Kong. Like that's all the same. It's just like, oh shoot, you start thinking about that. It's like, man, they've been.
So quick question then.
Yep.
Would it be safe to say that Mario is the biggest iconic video game character of all time?
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yep.
It's not even a question.
And I don't even think there should even be a conversation in that. I mean, like there's no other mascot that's more noticed or recognized in any of video gaming. Like everyone knows Mario. Everyone knows Mario.
Just to think that Nintendo and PlayStation could have been one. Can you imagine that
Mhm.
Right.
powerhouse? But that's a
Mhm.
story for another day. We
Yeah,
all know the story.
Yep.
just like Microsoft and Sega were talking about it too around the
Mhm.
Dreamcast time when Xbox, because
Well,
that was almost a deal, dude. That was almost a deal, and they were like, nah, because Microsoft wouldn't let them use their online components.
Microsoft also approached Nintendo and wanted to buy them at one point in time, and Nintendo said okay, and they threw some $1 billion number out there, and Microsoft was like, "Nah, we good."
Yeah,
Mm.
Wise choice for Nintendo to stay solo.
Yeah.
Microsoft ruins a lot
I
of
mean,
stuff.
doesn't Mario have his own theme park in Japan
Yep.
and will
Yep.
be the
What
United
is
States? I
come on,
mean,
is it called
come on.
Super Nintendo World or something
Yep.
like
That's
that?
untouchable. I mean, that's
In
the
Mario Kart,
movie
one of
just
the
made
rides
$1
that
billion.
Mario Kart attraction.
Yep. All right, DT, you're up, brother.
Oh, it's on me now.
It's on you. We're going around.
Okay, so I'm gonna rock with Super Punch Out.
Oh,
Super
Yes.
Punch Out. Now, thing about Super Punch Out, like I was saying earlier, Mario, he was in Dr. Mario, and he was a ref in Mike Tyson's Punch Out on the
Mhm.
Nintendo. So for them to bring that back on the Super Nintendo, of course, it's the Super Nintendo now. So, the games look a lot better. The sound is top tier, and the gameplay is top tier too. So I remember playing Super Punch Out. I don't think I've ever made it to the end, actually. But I was
Really?
I was playing it recently on my Switch. Of course, I played it a lot on my arcade machines, but definitely love some Super Punch Out. And I know you guys got some fond memories of Super
For
Punch Out
sure.
on Super Nintendo.
go ahead, Ann.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love Super Punch Out. Love how there was more characters from the first game. Yet it brought back some of the characters like Super Macho Man,
Yep, yep.
Piston Hurricane, Bald Bull.
hmm
So you had that familiarity with some of the characters, but then you had to learn a whole new cast of characters. Awesome,
Yeah.
Wolf. Yeah, I actually have just not the cartridge or not the case like you, but still.
I got the cartridge too, so
Yeah,
it- you know,
Glass
it's
Joe. Where's Glass Joe at?
Gabby J beat him actually. Gabby J's like 1 in 99, and that's his only victory.
Man,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, cause Scantron
Yeah.
struggles. Yeah, so.
he had to be drunk. Not
Glass
Scan.
Joe's
Dude,
only
not Scan,
victory is
but
over
whoever-
Scantron.
Dude, D, we were when we were in the story about that real quick. When we were in Vegas, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, you want to play this Punch Out?" He was like, "Nah," like just angrily, like, "Nah," and just walked on. I'm like, "Here, let me try." So I beat. So here's the thing. Then so I said, "All right, I'll do this." So I played it, beat Glass Joe, of course, real quick, and then I walked
Right.
off. Did something for like 2 minutes, came back and jumped back on, and then beat the second person because the second person hadn't even beat me yet. So I was like,
Wow.
oh, yeah. But yeah, Super Punch Out. I remember playing that game. That game was a lot of fun. And again, like you said, so the characters were larger, even than the
Yes.
regular Nintendo,
Yes.
which I like. So they were more detailed. The graphics were, of course, super. So they had more shading, more colors available, like Wolf talked about in the last episode, because of the color palette that the Super Nintendo offered. The sound was so much better because of the
Yeah.
sound that
Mhm.
the Super Nintendo had. It was just
Mhm.
it felt like Endgame said, straight up. I agree, familiar, but yet
Mhm.
but fresh enough to keep the
Yes.
attention. It wasn't just the visuals, right? It wasn't
Right.
just the visuals. It was
Yeah.
how the game played. And
It was fun.
yeah,
It was
it was
fun,
still
bro.
fun. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
like everybody remembers like Bald Bull on the NES, where you couldn't hit him in the stomach or you had to hit him in the stomach during the bull charge. Well, in this game, they had like Hoy Carlo, who brought in like a staff, Narcissus Prince. You had to hit him in the face, but he protected at all costs. Like
Yep.
really clever characters that you had to figure out their patterns, figure out when you could beat them. They would dominate you if you were just going to button mash, so you weren't rewarded for button mashing. But once you actually figured out their tells or their patterns, you could dominate them and you felt the impact. You felt like, man, I'm kicking ass at this game now.
Yep.
Even though, because you know how hard it was when you were getting your butt kicked, by Bald Bull or by Nick and Rick Bruiser time after time after time. But then when you
Mhm.
finally beat them, deep into the third round, you're like, yes, that's so exciting. Then you go back, oh, I wonder if I can beat him in the second round. Then you finally beat him then. You have to pick up new tells, finally beat him in the first round. You're like, this is awesome. There's no way I thought I could beat this guy in the first round. One quick story about Super Punch Out is in college, we had that in our room when we got back from the bars. So we'd be out drinking all night. We'd pop in Contra 3, the Alien Wars, play a little bit of that. We'd play Mario Kart Double Dash, a little bit of that. and then I'd always play Super Punch Out, try to improve my scores. And my friends were just like, "How can you play this game drunk?" And I'm like, "You got to learn these guys. Once you learn these guys, you can dominate them."
That's right.
And it became a challenge to try to beat them in the shortest time. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, great game, DT.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead,
mean,
Wolf.
that's what I love about Punch Out and Super Punch Out is it was like a puzzle, like you said, Endgame. You know, it was like each character had its own personality, but it was its own puzzle, and you had to figure out, like you said, the tells or little things, you know, that the characters were doing. They would even give you some clues. I forget what the trainer's name was. Was it Doc Mac or
Doc?
something?
Yeah,
Doc.
Yeah.
Doc would tell you, like, if you were having, like, you were getting your butt kicked, he would say, "Hey, you know, watch Aaron Ryan's right hook, you know, in the next round." And I don't know, it was just so cool. And there was little stuff like if you hit the start button in between rounds, you could get your energy back you know, a little bit. I'm not sure if that worked on Super Punch Out, but it worked on Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
LNR.
When you knock them down, when you knock down the opponent, you can get your health.
Yeah, you can regen your health. Yeah.
Yeah. What an awesome game.
Great game. Yep.
Good choice. Wolf, you're up, buddy.
Okay, so.
All right, I'm ready though, because I know you're about to throw something crazy, and I'm for it.
Well, go ahead. Then I want you to go.
No, I'm for it. Bring it. I'm ready.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to do anything crazy.
I got the hand. Oh, what?
This game has a lot of memories for me, and we talked about this last episode, and we said something cool about the Super Nintendo is that the system would stay alive and compete with the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation 1 because of the Super FX chips that were installed in the cartridges. And one of my favorite games of all time that had the Super FX chip is a god darn, just, I don't know, I'd say a masterpiece. And it's an on-rails shooter in space with lively characters and 3D kind of, I don't even know what you would call it. Were they vector graphics?
Yep.
And just so much fun. And I really liked the characters and the banter that was going on back and forth between Fox McCloud and some of those guys like Slippy the Frog. And
do a barrel roll.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. And you held up Endgame. You held up the what do you call it? Yeah, that's it. And that is the first time. Now the ROM was kind of floating out for a while, and that's the Star Fox 2 ROM. And I loved it so much, and I love Star Fox so much. I found somebody that made a cart that had ROM, and it looks just like Star Fox. It's got a great sticker. Looks like you would have bought this in the store. And, you know, it's got the Star Fox 2, you know, ROM on it. And it's a whole bunch of fun. I don't know if it's as good as Star Fox. That's just my opinion, but I think it was a decent sequel. I'm not even sure if it was completely finished or not. I don't know if you guys could.
Well, it wasn't
on
the SNES Classic. Wasn't that the first time it was officially released?
Yes, that's the first.
Yeah, like it was lost for a long time.
Yep. Definitely.
Like that's awesome that it finally was released, you know. And everybody wanted the Super Nintendo Classic anyway, but that was yet another reason to get it, you know, because you're getting this Super Nintendo game that in theory nobody has access to until that came out.
Yep. And so many different offshoots of Star Fox came out, you know, thereafter. And I'm not sure if Star Fox as a series I would rank as a very great series compared to some other Nintendo's franchises. I mean, they had some decent games. I know, like for the GameCube, there was some cool games that came out. There was like a 3DS version, which was pretty cool, but I don't know if any of them ever got to the hiatus that the original Star Fox did for me personally.
Go ahead, D.
What?
Go ahead, D.
But yeah, I agree, DT.
Bro, I remember thoroughly. I went on a school field trip. I had money in my pocket that my mom gave me, and I was in the mall somewhere. We went to Six Flags, and I saw Star Fox 64 with
Yes.
the Rumble Pack. Bro, that was one of Star
Mhm.
Fox Assault on GameCube is fire
Mhm.
too. You know what I mean? It looks great. But that Star Fox on Super Nintendo, love it. Like you said, the visuals different at the time because they had another games that was utilizing that chip, Stunt Race FX and stuff like that. Cool.
Mhm.
But that Star Fox 64, bro,
Mhm.
Yeah.
with the Rumble Pack, and
Mhm.
then like you were saying, you like the banter back and forth. They actually voiced these characters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Fox, get the one behind me.
Mhm.
I mean, they were the voice acting, the gameplay, the two different routes that you can take depending on how many kills and stuff you get in flying. Like that game is straight heat wolf. Have you? I know you play Star Fox 64, but
Oh
have you?
yeah. I mean, but
Yeah,
you might have missed that episode, Derek, when I
I did.
bashed the hell out of the N64.
Hmm.
I don't
I'm logging off. I'm
like
logging off.
I, I'm sorry. I mean, of all
No.
the Nintendo consoles, to me, the N64 is the one that could go in the trash compactor. I could care less about the N64.
You big Virtual Boy fan then, Wolf?
Oh.
I wouldn't even
No.
defecate on that, Jamie. It's a waste
I
of
know,
my
I know.
defecation.
No. Oh, give me about 10. Give me about 10 to 15. A cliff note. What's up with the N64? Wasn't powerful enough?
No, I did not. I did not gravitate towards it. I thought the games were very expensive when they came out. I didn't think a lot of the games were very good, and maybe I didn't have very good luck in the beginning. I was a lot of misses for me. The controller I couldn't stand. I know a lot of people love those wrestling games for N64. I wasn't into the wrestling games. I mean, aside from some of the heavy hitters like Mario 64,
Sure.
there's a couple gems that I love, but
I mean,
overall, I
I
think
mean,
I think it's my least favorite Nintendo
I'm just
system.
gonna say 3 games: Ocarina of Time,
Of course.
Wave Race 64,
Yep.
Killer Instinct Gold.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'm okay.
Well,
Yeah,
that's because you ran out. That's all. There is.
No, no. I didn't want to take up any more time.
Oh
I'm like,
no, that's it. Yeah,
no.
that's fine. You proved my point.
Yeah.
No, to both DT and Wolf's points,
Uh,
Star Fox 64 is an amazing game, but like Mario Kart, Star Fox started out on Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo refined amazing Nintendo franchises and then created brand new franchises that became
Right.
amazing later. So it's still an amazing game and franchise, even if there are better games in the franchise.
Yeah, we talked about N64. I'm gonna go and just talk about Star Fox. I actually, Wolf, I agree with you that it wasn't Star Fox. I've never seen it as one of their upper tier. I would say so. Tier 1 stuff is gonna be the Zeldas, the Marios, and all that kind of stuff. Zelda or the Star Fox is I think a tier 2. So it's got some good stuff to it, but it never reached what those other ones reached. The install base, the people that would buy. You know what I'm saying? It was still kind of niche. And so that's the only thing. But I do remember the original Star Fox that you're talking about on Super Nintendo, and I freaking love that game because again, there was hidden paths that you could take. Right? It wasn't just linear.
Mhm.
It was branching paths, and there was other hidden stuff. Because again, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to finding hidden stuff. I like playing games over again and finding new things about the game. And so that's what I remember. And again, like the banter, dude, make me just crack up all the time. And even back then, DT, I agree with you. I love when they voiced them, but back in the Super Nintendo, used to crack me up so bad with the. It sounded like the Mars Attacks people.
Right.
But
Yeah.
But I love that game. It was really cool once you figured out how to use the LNR to spin and barrel roll around, and it felt very responsive, even with the controller. Being able to control, and it was very responsive. There was a little bit of pop up, of course, that's just the way that it was. But this was for a cart to be running 3-dimensional stuff like that, freaking amazing.
I
Hey,
think
Well, and
yeah, go
and
ahead.
Dan, to your, or sorry, go
No,
Wolf.
No,
Oh,
I
no,
was
I was just gonna say, to Dan's point about the multiple paths, they kind of had to do that because it was a pretty short game, very difficult game. So that gave, like you said, added replay value. Oh, I'm struggling on this path. Let's try a different path. You know, great point. Great point.
So I got to bust balls for a second, okay? Because Derek likes to bust my balls. So now I'm going to bust his balls. I'm going to ask him one question, and you just got to answer truthfully.
yes.
All right. I'm looking right in your eyes. What system holds up better today in 2023? Super Nintendo or N64?
Super Nintendo.
Okay. You know
Super
what?
Nintendo.
Here's my pretend mic. I just dropped it.
But you know what? Star Fox, I think Star Fox could have been more of an A-list when it came to the Super Nintendo lineup that could stand next to your Kirby's and your Zeldas and your Marios. But I think as it, like Star Fox, the originals, SNES was great. The 64 follow-up was amazing. Rumble features and all of that. All right. I think it was one of the first games to have the Rumble feature.
I think you're right.
And then you move on, you go to the GameCube, and Star Fox Assault was amazing. But it was like quite a few that came out on the GameCube. But I don't know if they messed up when they started putting Star Fox on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what really messed it up. And then when the Wii came out, they just got all kind of crazy with those Wii controls. And I think that literally, if Star Fox would have bounced back, he should have bounced back then, and that put him from an A-list to B and close C. He's a still major player in the Nintendo lineup, but you're not Link, you're not Mario.
I have one thing to say about this too, and this is okay. I reflect on a lot of stuff, and I listen to what a lot of people say, and I look at trends and patterns. Out of what you mentioned, Mario, Zelda, Kirby, what was the other?
Yoshi?
And yeah, Kirby and Yoshi. You know what those are? Those are not gender specific. Star Fox had a higher percentage male. It was really hard. Think about it. It was really that was more
so
of
Nintendo's woke, bro. They woke. No,
but no, but I'm saying like when you see like people playing those games, that's the only difference that I've been able to note. That is a noted thing. Like actual, like jet fighter type games. I don't normally see a lot of my girls, like my girls that were friends growing up, gravitating towards those games. Like I just didn't. And so I think that might have had something to do with it because all those other big heavy hitters, they're not gender specific. Girls got into those no problem, just like that. And I'm not saying, again, don't read between the lines. I'm not saying that there weren't girls that like Star Fox. I'm just letting you know. But when it's the way that it was marketed and the way that it was sold, it was geared more towards the male audience, where they're cutting off half of the audience. So even if there are some girls that are wanting to get it, which is there was, but it's still not going to have the pull that those other ones had. That's what I think why it didn't elevate itself. And they were trying to kind of reinvent and make it cutesy when they brought it to the ground to try and grab some more of those, like, the more cutesy Skylanders type feel for games. And it just didn't work. Like, that's not what Star Fox was. And then they get confused. Like, people like, this is a Star Fox. Yeah, I don't understand. Kind of like that.
Well, at least they still put him as a cast in Smash Bros.
Right.
At least,
Right,
at least
right.
he was still in the game.
Correct.
So
Yep.
we'll give him
Yeah.
that.
And Falco.
Nintendo does rely on their heavy hitters though too. Like they abandoned F-Zero, and Metroid even. Metroid should be even a much bigger franchise than what it is.
I agree.
So
yeah. I mean, it's Metroid is still big,
yes.
but it's not Mario big.
No.
Right.
Look at what I said about Star Fox. Metroid falls into that category a little bit too. Even though they have a female character in it, Metroid falls into that category a little bit too, where it's geared more towards one gender. So
But you hear what Endgame just said too.
What's that?
He said he mentioned F-Zero as well, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean that that
It's not
franchise should be,
cutesy.
that's a slept on franchise, man.
Yep, and it's.
Yep.
I mean, you would
got-
think they'd almost do like what NetherRealm Studios does: Mortal Kombat 1 year or one time, then Injustice and flip flop. Do a Mario Kart, and then in a couple of years do a F-Zero and flip back. It's
I read.
nope.
I
Mario
read an
Kart's
article.
our thing. We're sticking with it.
There was an article I read just recently. It wasn't just recently, maybe within the past year or so, because somebody was asked about that. Like, when's the next F-Zero coming out? And it's too big of a competition for Mario, and they don't believe that they would get enough money to offset the cost of developing a new F-Zero game. versus what Mario Kart would bring in. So it doesn't make sense. That's why they keep throwing it to the side because it's been like that for a while. So I agree with you. I love F-Zero, and F-Zero is a different game. It's not like a battle fun party game. It's more of a arcadey racer that has really cool effects to it. But almost like Wipeout and stuff like that. They're separate things. But Nintendo, I think, still sees them as too similar and don't want to have competing properties. So
Nintendo has a market cap net worth of $53.69 billion as of November the 17th, 2023. I don't want to hear nothing about Mario competing with them. Make the game.
Yep, I hear you. Good call.
That's true.
Make the game,
that was
bro.
your mic drop. Like, I don't want to hear nothing about that.
Yeah,
buddy.
There you go.
Oh, DT.
Yeah, and don't forget Pikmin. That's another niche Nintendo. That's a series that I like, but I could see that that's not everybody's type of game. It's got like CS elements, but I mean, they have put out 4 Pikmins at this point, and they remastered 1 and 2. So obviously, it means something to Nintendo.
But look at a little Pokemon up in there.
Look at Pikmin, right?
Of course.
But Pikmin F-Zero. Like, come on.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Pikmin. But Pikmin and F-Zero, like, bro.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Well, there was only how many F-Zeros? I mean, it's like
pick up Fast Neo Racing on the Switch. Fast RMX Racing, or Fast Neo Racing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
looks beautiful.
Yeah,
it could be an F-Zero clone. I don't know.
Nice.
All right, whatever, Nintendo.
I know it's like a love-hate
Dan,
relationship. Oh, I am up. Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship with Nintendo. So, because DT brought it up, this was one of my games I was going to talk about anyways, but since we're staying on the FX chip, and he mentioned it already, I'm going to go with Stunt Race FX. Okay, so Stunt Race FX, anybody that hasn't played this, okay, first off, I'm going to give you the veggies with the dessert, okay? So the veggies, when it comes to this game, it's slow. This is a very slow racing game. Very slow. Like, I just want you to know. You're going to check it out because you're going to be like, Dantron said this game. Understand. It's fun, but it is super freaking slow. All right? That's the veggies. Now, I'm going to give you some of the dessert. It looks phenomenal. It's super fun to play. The graphics are great. And it actually has unlocks. And there's different modes that you're going to like to play. There's stunt modes. There's race modes. All the cars, they behave differently. Once you unlock the motorcycle, totally different too. So there's all kinds of replayability on this. It's 2-player as well. It's a super fun game. They did really well with using they used the FX situation that they did with Star Fox, right? With a little bit of that mode 7, so it still had smooth movement on the track, and it had an attitude to it that was just fun. Like Wolf and I have talked about that, like back in the day, is the fun factor for games. Like this one didn't get a whole lot of notoriety to it, and if you look at it as a racer, it's a slow racing game, so I think that might have turned some people off. But the fun factor, if you get and play this game, it is a ton of fun. You will laugh. You'll get bored with the racing portion, and then you'll do the stunt portion. I actually enjoyed the stunt modes more than I enjoyed the racing. So the FX chip worked really well in here, and yeah, I really like this game. What do you guys think?
That was the only iteration of that game. They never followed up with that, right?
Nope, I don't think it was.
It kind of reminds. Yeah. It puts me in the ballpark of. You ever played a game called Uniracer or something like that?
Yep.
It kind of reminds me of that, and that was an awesome game too. That never got another iteration made. But yeah, but I think I've probably played that a couple of times growing up, and like Dan was saying, it's cool. It was very slow, but it wasn't one of those. It's kind of like a gym, but then again, it's like the stunt mode was where it was at. Well, yeah. But other than the FX chip graphics, I'd rather go play Star Fox.
All right. Yep, I'll give you that. And this is just one that I played that I enjoyed. This isn't like best games or whatever. This is one that I kind of like I pull out like ActRaiser every now and again. Like just try it. Now this one I'm not putting on the same level as ActRaiser. I talked about that in the last episode.
Right.
But ActRaiser's way better, but it's kind of hidden like that. You can enjoy Stunt Race FX just like you can enjoy ActRaiser. You just got to kind of give it a chance and see if you like it or not. So
I could sum up Stunt Race FX. It's like you have your favorite Chinese restaurant, okay? You're not gonna call them up and order chicken parmesan. from the Chinese restaurant. You're gonna
Right.
get you know what I mean? So like
Wonton soup, yes.
exactly, you're gonna wonton soup, you're gonna get a poo-poo platter, you're gonna get something like that. It's just, and that is the hard thing. I think that it didn't gravitate to people, and I want to stress what Dan said because I have the game too, and it is painfully slow. So when you're looking at that, or you're looking at a game like this, which is the antithesis,
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
okay,
Look at the
you know,
artwork.
people, it's called racing. It's not called, get a pair of boots and walk through a tar pit.
Hey, but
And
it's
that's what it
stunt
was like playing the
stunt
game.
race. Stunt race. So
Yeah.
stunts are gonna be slow. Race, there's some stuff that I know. I'm just trying to hang on to it.
Yeah, I know
But-
you are.
But I do enjoy this game. If you got the opportunity to try it out, it is a fun game. If you just try it, you might like
Yeah.
it, you might
No,
not.
it's cool. It's definitely a cool game.
Oh, and by the way, Dan, I like that shirt, man. It's pretty cool. I see
Like
you
that?
fully charged up too. I like that.
Yeah, that's right. Ready.
That's great.
I have my pizza. Yep. Cool. All right, DT, you're up, buddy.
It's back on me.
Oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
rolling around.
All right, boom. I'm going with Super Double Dragon.
Oh,
Billy and
Nice.
Jimmy.
Ooh.
Bruh, that was the game. I remember growing up, my pop, my brother and I went somewhere, and my pops bought the game for my cousin and didn't buy it for us, and we was looking at him like, bruh, you gonna buy him that fire and not get it for us? But whenever we finally did get our hands on that game, straight heat. I mean, from the very beginning. I don't know if you guys. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun. That's how the music goes when you start out.
Yes.
And the way you can fight in that game, like when the guys swing at you, you can grab their arm. I mean, I know
Mhm.
you can grab them in other games, but being that this is Super Nintendo, was upgraded a little more a lot more graphically.
Mhm.
The game was beautiful, man. Level design. Now the characters in the game were like, when you compare it to something like a beat 'em up like Final Fight, the characters on screen seemed a lot smaller, but that didn't matter. The game was still fun from front to back. What do you guys think about that? Super Double Dragon.
Yeah, no,
Awesome
I
game.
love the beat 'em up brawlers. One Double Dragon game I was disappointed with was the Shadow Falls, the fighter game.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Get on the rug.
Super Double
Yeah.
Dragon, much more my style of a game. Definitely a good game.
Right, right.
yeah, I
So
played it.
from-
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Dan.
I was
No,
okay.
no, go
All
ahead.
right, I'll go quick. I never owned that game. I played it over at a friend's house, and you're right, I did like that one. But I
Mhm.
like the side scroller beat 'em ups too. But
Mhm.
so I was more used to around that time. I loved Streets of Rage. So it was more it was kind of like
Mhm.
did I like it more than Streets of Rage or did I not? That's the reason why I ended up not buying it, because I preferred Streets of Rage 2 over that Double Dragon. I just did.
Well, it's hard to argue now. I mean, Streets of Rage 2 was a banger.
Right.
So
Again, I grew up in Tacoma. My dad was a garbage man. Didn't have a whole lot of money, so I had to pick and choose in certain things. And I was like, all right, I already have a beat 'em up, so I guess I'll just wait and buy something else. And then I bought Mortal Kombat 2 or something. So that was a good trade off.
Okay.
But yeah, it was
Man,
good.
Dan bringing up, I mean, Streets of Rage 2 could be one of the greatest side-scrolling fighters of all time. I mean, I'd love to have an episode where we each pick like a game in a genre and then like battle it out and then vote on it until we get it down to one game. I think that
We're
would
gonna
be
do
so
it.
much
Ooh.
fun.
That's gonna
That'd
happen.
be fun, yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We'll
But
get a
I
big
mean,
round table. We'll get like 8 people. Get like 8
that would be
people on.
so much fun. And we each get a different game in the genre and we have to like sell it. And then we vote, each get a round of voting until we pare it down to the one game that defines the genre.
And
I
not
think would be
systems
an awesome idea.
non-system specific, meaning any
Yeah.
console, no
Ooh,
game, no
I like
arcade,
that better.
any console. So yeah,
Ooh.
I got ideas. We're gonna make that happen. All right,
Nice.
we'll keep that one in the annals. We'll make that work. So
So
go ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to say real quick that DT picked a gem because I love beat 'em ups, and I think, and I was very close to picking that. I have a beat 'em up genre that I'm going to show when it's my turn, but I love Super Double Dragon because I was a big Double Dragon fan back on the NES, and I actually liked all 3 of them. like on the Nintendo. And when I played that, I was like, whoa, they really took the elements of one and just like,
So you say you really like them games, right?
yeah, love
I
them.
need for you to answer a question for me because I was playing Double Dragon the other day.
Yeah,
I need for you to help me understand any of you guys.
yeah.
So when the game starts out, you know, they're outside of this little workshop, little, you know, oil shop, like an advanced AutoZone or something. I mean, what makes those guys like? I don't know why the lady was out there. I don't know if she was out there selling flyers or whatever, but they just hit her in the stomach and
Oh,
walk
yeah.
off with her, bro. Like, why they hit her in the stomach, man? Do you know why? They hit her in the
No comment.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's not mine.
No comment. No comment.
Oh man.
They didn't want the fist to bounce back and give them a black eye, so
Right,
they aimed
right.
lower.
But yeah, it's definitely a fun thing, though, man.
And they even do that in like the modern Double Dragon Neon game too.
Yep.
Same thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was paying an homage to that, I think.
Yeah.
Double Dragon.
Yeah. We do
Great
not
pick.
we do not condone violence against any gender.
No.
We do not.
There we
No,
go.
not at all. Speaking of Double Dragon, don't they have the same guys that made the Turtles Shredder's Revenge? Aren't they making a new Double Dragon?
Yes, I think so. Aren't they?
think
Yeah.
so.
A Double Dragon Gaiden just released. Not that
Yeah.
long ago.
Was that it?
That was like a beat 'em
Is
up.
that what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Which I like.
Yep, just
A
released
lot.
not that long ago. In the last 6
Right,
months.
recently.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Not as good as Shredder's Revenge, but
No,
lots of
no.
fun.
Oh,
I'm good.
I do like this. Where all these old school brawlers are coming back though. It's cool.
Yeah.
They're even coming out
Yes.
with a GI Joe beat 'em up brawler.
Yeah.
Yep.
They,
Toxic
can't wait.
Avengers.
Yeah, they
Don't
should've
forget
never
Toxic
went-
Yep,
Avengers.
Toxic. Yep, Crusaders.
yeah.
I don't know if this is. I don't know if it's because Hollywood is kind of doing the same thing. Like they remade House Party, and they're reaching back to the 80s and 90s and remaking these movies. And like in video games, they're reaching back and remaking them. When you do something like Shredder's Revenge and stuff like that, that's really cool when you remake it right. Do you think they're running out of things to do? Because I would love to have the beat 'em up genre still exist today. You know, it's
Mhm,
kind of
mhm.
it's not like it used to be growing up.
I'm going to tell you why I think that genre has gone the way of the dodo, and this is just my opinion because
Mhm.
I nobody loves a beat 'em up more than me. But I think when you're talking about like Super Nintendo, I'll even throw in N64 into that. It was a different time, and the thing with beat 'em ups is you could beat them in 45 minutes to an
Mhm.
hour and 15 minutes. Nobody today is going to spend $60 and $70 and get an hour to an hour and a half worth of gameplay. And that's just beat 'em ups. I mean, could you today, with the horsepower of an Xbox Series X and PS5, do a beat 'em up that could go maybe 5 times as long, maybe 5 hours? Yeah, maybe. Better graphics, sound. It's still 5 hours though. And I'm not dropping that type of money for a beat 'em up. And I know a lot of people are not. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're kind of, they kind of phased that out and went more into getting more bang for your buck.
Well, I mean, they probably would charge $30-$40 for those types of games. I wouldn't
They'd
see them
have to.
charging full price. Yeah.
They'd have to.
So
Yeah, the only thing is too is that they are repetitive. So if you
Yeah.
grew up in that, you know
Right.
what you're getting in for. But if you have no idea what a beat 'em up is and you drop your $30 for it, you're like, level 2 is the same thing as level 1. Level 3 is the same thing. I have these same moves. Sure, there's ways to level up your character, add new moves, add new levels, different boss fights. Absolutely, I'd love them to make a X-Men Arcade 2, and have DLC levels with new bosses and stuff like that. Absolutely. But do most people want that? Probably not.
So I got two things I'm gonna say because Wolf triggered something in me too thinking about this. So one, it's evolution. So and I'm gonna go back to the other one. So evolution now. Our beat 'em ups have now shifted to games like Ghost of Tsushima, God of War.
Single player.
So yeah, right. They've shifted to that type, right? So because you think about it, that's a beat 'em up. It's a beat 'em up with good story,
Right.
and
Right.
it evolves. And the second part of that, because it's evolution, is what happened right around when the beat 'em up started dying. That was right around N64. arcades started closing. So it's
Yeah.
both of those things, I think, is really what happened. Once the arcade started closing down, people didn't expect, like, you go into an arcade and you play a beat 'em up and you're like, oh man, this is cool, but you don't get to really complete it, or you do get to complete it, but then you're like, oh man, I loved that game, and now they have it come out on console. Heck yeah, I'll buy that, because they were out there, or at that time, you'd be out there, you know, with your friends playing the beat 'em ups, the final fights, and all that kind of stuff, and then you would go home, and of course you'd bring the arcade home, you'd buy it. But right around that, when you notice when they started dying off, was right around N64 PlayStation time, and that's they started to evolve to be more than just a side scroller button mash beat 'em up style, and also the arcades were gone, or they were leaving. So I think both of those are really what didn't necessarily kill the beat 'em up genre, but I think that it was a major contributing factor to why we don't see as many of those beat 'em ups that we remember back in the day.
And that's why all of us at least have some sort of a arcade somewhere in our house. All of you got one, something.
I only got
Whether
8.
it's a 1-up or Megacade, or
I only have like
you
8
got
of them.
something. Retrocade. You got something in
DT,
your house.
that's why when you said, why are they coming back? It's because we all have these now. They want to make games for us. Just like, why is House of the Dead remake coming back? The light gun games for our home arcades. Come on.
Exactly.
If they give it mouse support, and we have to stop hacking to get mouse support to work on it.
6. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Wolf. Oh man.
But you know, Dan said something. I want to get off this topic too, but you said something I think really important. I love your point of the arcades, you know, that you made, and also you had like N64 and PS1 trying beat 'em ups in 3D. They didn't work. They didn't work at all. And you know, it was something where a genre excelled in its time and place in the 8-bit and 16-bit era, and those horizontal beat 'em ups worked, and then the hardware got better, and it didn't make sense because these companies now, they wanted to show off the hardware. They wanted to do 3D graphics and big polygons, and the days of the 8-bit 16-bit horizontal side scrollers, that was coming to an end. And that's why you're seeing kind of like a renaissance today in trying to bring it back, because us old heads, we want to revisit that stuff again.
Well, it's
in '99 we got that on the Dreamcast with Dynamite Cop, and it was in the arcade too.
And Demolish Fist. Demolish Fist as well, but that was all
That's how
done.
you do it.
It was Sega and Sammy, I think, were the ones that did a few of them. But again, it was losing its its grip, right? And so if people were thinking, if I'm going to go 3D, I'm going to make it 3D, and I'm going to have other abilities, and then it shifted to 3D first person, and it's just kind of just evolved out of the side scroller. So, yeah, I hear that. So who's up? Sorry,
I think I'm up next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm actually you guys have all brought up great points that segues right into this game before we move on. And to me, this is the king of the beat 'em ups back in the day. And to what Wolf just said, you know, everything shifted. The consoles were catching up to the arcades. This was the game that did it for me, where the arcade was in my house. And that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. Such an amazing arcade game.
There it is.
To me, that Super Nintendo console or cartridge right there that you're holding, Larson, is better than the arcade. Yes, the arcade had 4 players. That was a major perk for it. However, the graphics were amazing. The large sprites playing at home. They had new levels with different bosses at the end. They improved those levels and bosses. There was a mechanic where you could throw characters at the screen. Looked awesome, right? The Super Nintendo version added a boss fight where you actually gameplay, where you had to throw the characters at the shredder to defeat them. Like, so great. Like the sewer surfing level. At the end of that in the arcade, you just have these pizza monsters jumping out. In the Super Nintendo version, you got Rat King. On his
exactly.
I had those toys. That was so cool. You know,
Agreed.
and then what is it? Prehistoric, the prehistoric level. Instead of this like glue monster. Yeah, prehistoric Turtlesaurus. There you go. Instead of this like glue blob monster at the end, you got Slash.
Yeah.
How awesome was Slash, you know?
Yep.
So this just piggyback segues right into what all you guys were saying. Super Nintendo, you could finally bring the arcade home. on Nintendo, when you brought home the first Turtles arcade game, wasn't the same experience. You still went back to the arcades to pay money to play that. Turtles in Time, man, instead of the arcade, come over to my house. Let's play this, you know?
Mm-hmm. Great point.
It
Great
really
point.
would have. It really would have been because the multi-tap did exist back then. I had it. I don't know where it is now, but it really would have been awesome to play that game with 4 players, being
Yes.
that it was 4 players. But Nintendo was horrendous for that because Final Fight, the original Final Fight, you can play it 2 players in the arcade, but when it came to console, it was only for 1 player. It wasn't until they released Final Fight Guy, then you were able to play with 2 players. So they was notorious for that. But as Endgame was saying, Turtles in Time was so awesome and so great. You didn't care if it was just, most of the time you only got one buddy at your
Yeah.
house anyways. So, it was cool. It was cool either way. The pros definitely outweighed the cons in that game, and the
For
cons are
sure.
very minimal.
I think the Ninja Turtle gods felt sorry for us because when they gave us Shredder's Revenge, we got 6 players.
There you go.
Yes.
So that's how they offset it. They're like, "Oh man, I'm sorry you had this better version of the game on Super Nintendo and only had 2 players. I'm gonna give you 6 now." Like, heck
Yeah.
and online for sure.
Yep.
And unlockable characters.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And DLC. So yeah, very great choice, dude. I love that game. That's probably at least top 7, 8 Super Nintendo games for me that I remember playing back in the day, dude. I could always pick that game up and play it. Like straight up, I could play this game all day, every day. My daughters love it. We get on here and we'll play it sometimes. The Super Nintendo version is really good. The of course the arcade version is good as well. But when you play them both, like I've played them both many times, it's actually fun to go see one way arcade and then play the other one the other way. It's not like one is better than the other in certain respects. One that has
Sure.
4 player, great, but the other one has I agree. Slash, the Rat King
Yep.
boss at the end, all that kind of stuff. Awesome. So good
Yeah.
choice, dude. I'm so happy you picked that one.
Well, and Dan, to your point too, where the arcade version is still amazing. Most of our memories here, they're old school, right? They're retro when we're growing up. I had a recent memory with a couple of you guys on the Chicago trip. We're in the bar playing 4-player Turtles in Time, just to get a picture. Hey, just so we can say we played it. We all beat this game hundreds and hundreds of times. Well, one of the guys with us, Jim, he's never finished the game because I don't know, didn't have enough people, ran out of quarters, whatever the reason. So you know what? I'm like, Jim, you call yourself a gamer? We're taking down Turtles in Time. So we sat at the bar, took it down. He shook my hand. Thanks, Endgame. Really appreciate you doing that for me. And I was just blown away that we're still making memories off of this game that came out 30 plus years ago.
Oh.
It shows the staying power of games, of the Super Nintendo games, in the arcade games.
It's iconic. It's classic. It's one of it's almost like, to me, like the movie, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. The first one was so great, storyline, dark, gritty, humor, laughter. To me, that will always be the best ones. It's better than what Michael Bay has tried to do. I mean, it's just iconic. So, Endgame, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Shredder's Revenge? I mean, I know it might not, in some people's eyes, it might not be as good as Turtles in Time, but I think it's a very good remake. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I absolutely love it. I wish they had the Turtles in Time graphics though. The sprites and the graphics, they're so colorful and something. That's the one thing that's missing from it. But I love how long it is. I love the old school callback to the first Turtles game on Nintendo, the top-down map. I love that, going in between, driving the turtle van. Thought that was such a great thing. The different characters that you could be, leveling up your characters.
6 players at one time.
Yeah. Yep. Even playing on your arcade, 4 players, joystick and buttons. Get 2 Xbox controllers out. It works.
Yep.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I hope they make a sequel to it.
Great pick.
And DT, I'm assuming you watched the cartoon back in the day.
I have the VHS in here still.
Deep cut callbacks to like the Neutrons and like Dimension X and all the different stuff. The frogs and all that stuff.
When James Avery voiced Shredder, James Avery, aka Uncle Phil, rest in peace.
Just so good.
Definitely rest in peace, Uncle Phil.
Yeah,
we just
sure.
beat
And
Shredder's Revenge.
We did.
I feel like we just beat it.
Yeah, we did that with Scantron because he hadn't beat it.
Yeah, we just beat it.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I did.
Scan was
All
like,
right, we're
I've
gonna
never
do
beat
a
it.
6-player quarter challenge sometime. Let's take that down 6 players.
All right. All right, Wolf, you up?
Well, I mean, you guys took you took all the air out of my balloon. But
Not true. So start pulling out random stuff, dude. It doesn't even matter. You
No.
got everything.
Well, here we go. We're talking about beat 'em ups.
Oh,
We got to
yes.
talk about one of my favorite beat 'em up series of all time. There it is, Final Fight. Dan got it too. Here's the box.
Nice.
I love the
Do you have the
artwork
instruction
there.
manual too?
What's that?
You got the instruction manual as well?
I don't know. Let's see.
Oh,
The answer is yes.
Wow. Yes, yeah, he
I
got
don't
it.
know. Some of them don't. And the answer is negative.
What?
Yeah.
Well, you got the box and the plastic. That's
I got
cool.
the box and the plastic. You know what? I think I do have the manual. I got a stack of manuals in my closet. So I think I remember Final Fight being one of them.
Time to
What a
come out of the
lucky man
closet,
you
Wolf.
are.
Yep. I know. It's about time, Dan. Here is Final Fight
Ah.
2.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. You and your final fights, baby.
Here
You got
is
3
Final
too?
Fight 3,
Nice.
All
which
of
is
them.
probably one of my favorite. And D just brought up a great fact
Mm-hmm.
about Final Fight Guy. And
Mhm.
I was lucky enough to get this. I wish the condition was a tad better. I'm sure I could get that
It's
marker off.
super rare, dude.
But Final Fight Guy is a very rare game. And I don't know what the hell the decision was, like you said, DT, to make the final fights one player, and then you have to put out a game that was only sold at Blockbuster, Final Fight Guy, which enabled you to play with a friend. And I don't know what Nintendo's deal was with this whole like multiplayer thing, but
I have a theory.
Yeah.
So you remember how many characters they could get on screen at one time, and their sprites were pretty big. So
Yeah.
what I'm guessing is the amount of characters that they were able to get on screen at one time. If you would have thrown another person in there, another playable character, they wouldn't have been able to throw any more like enemies on there. It would have been too easy if I had to guess. So if I had to guess, because
Okay.
it's
Well,
still old school.
like Final Fight 2 and 3, can't you play 2 players on those games, I believe?
Yeah.
2 and
I
3
don't
you
think
can.
so.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
those are
yeah.
Super Nintendo exclusive games.
Yeah,
and
Final
I
Fight
think
2
you could play 2 players.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I believe the sprites, to your point, Dan, they were smaller. The characters are smaller. So maybe that had something to do with it. Because I think Final Fight 3 actually had a mode where the computer could be your second controller. So if you didn't have a friend over and you wanted to play 2-player, I'm pretty sure you could put in a computer player for your second player.
Man.
I have a love-hate for Nintendo. I love them because they make great first-party games and some of the graphics be looking great. But let's take it back to the SNES days. Like, for instance, Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat was big when it first came out, right?
Mhm.
Huge. It's still big now. But back then it was just, we never seen anything like that, especially with the fatalities. So when it came to Mortal Kombat on the SNES, it looked and sounded better than the Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But when it came to the fatalities, Kano pulls somebody's heart out and it's just dust. That's when the Sega does what Nintendo came out, because on Sega Genesis, y'all know the blood code. You put that in there, blood is gushing everywhere.
I don't.
Everybody loved that. You know
I
what
want
I
to
mean?
see a head ripped off with the spine. I don't want to see somebody throw an ice thing at a frozen body and make it explode. I don't want to see
Right. So Nintendo made those decisions, like, and still to this day it shows. And I don't know if that's just whoever's steering that boat need to let. Not saying that who's steering it now isn't making great decisions, because obviously they $50+ billion profit. I mean, that's what they're worth, but I think they need to get some young, fresh talent in there, and you still keep the Nintendo at its core, keep it like it is, but they need to do some changes with the friend codes. You can still be friendly oriented, but I would love to have a Super Nintendo Switch. Like, let the Switch, I don't know, Switch is great, portable and all that great stuff. It's sold out millions of units, but how awesome would it be to play Cyberpunk 2077 on a Nintendo
definitely.
console in great, without sacrificing. Like, when they ported over Doom to the Switch, people were like, "Oh my gosh, those those guys who ported it over, they worked some kind of wizardry magic. I mean, to be able to get Doom to run on the Switch, it's like a real big deal when a graphical, like if I had a choice to play Doom on the Switch or PS5, I'm going to play it on the or yeah, I'm playing on the PS5. Like Hogwarts Legacy just came
Yep.
out on the
I was
Switch,
just thinking of
and
that.
the fact that you can play it on the Switch, phenomenal. Take it on an airplane, boat, wherever you want to go, you can play it. That's great. But when you look at how it plays on the Switch, handheld and or docked, and then you look at how it plays on PC or even a PS5, you're gonna be like, bruh, it's night and day.
Mhm.
So I just want Nintendo. I know they quick to say we're not competing. We don't. I know they don't care about graphics, and I know you don't need graphics to excel and sell millions of copies or what have you. But Nintendo, please.
Yeah,
Give us.
and DT, just remember when the Switch came out, it already had bad hardware in it. It
Agreed.
already had a chip that should have been updated before it came out. So you're talking about a system, and it's been out for a while now, that's
Mhm.
running on this updated cell phone type of technology that's in a Switch. I'm serious. And they need to, like you said, do some soul searching. When the Switch 2 comes out, it needs to compete with the Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, it's like
You
yeah.
you don't need all of that muscle to sell consoles. You don't. And when the Switch came out in 2017, it's operating on 2015
Yeah,
hardware.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like they're saying, whenever the new Switch comes out, it's going to be on par with the PS4 and the Xbox One. That's cool for a handheld, but when you look at something like the Legion Go,
Yeah.
when I'm playing these games, these PC games on the go. Now, granted, the Legion Go is $600-700, but I would have gladly paid $400-500 for a handheld Vita-ish type
Yep.
PlayStation. I would have gladly paid that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other folks out there would have paid that too. I
Yep.
mean, this is great for what it does, but I just want Nintendo to. I I love their handhelds and what you can do and where you can take it. My wife and I, we went to Italy. We were all in Sri Lanka playing Switch against each other, playing
Uh-huh.
Mario Kart at night in front of the Trevi Fountain. That's great, but I still want them to have a little bit more horsepower. How
I
awesome would it
agree.
be? One of the biggest games about to be announced in the whole wide world, Grand Theft Auto 6. How cool would it be to play that on the Switch or
Oh,
Nintendo's next console? They don't
yep.
get they don't get the they don't get the John Maddens. They don't get the Call of Duties. They don't well, now that Activision is up under Xbox wings, they may get it, but they don't get those big third party games. And when they do get them, it's always it's going to sacrifice the graphic fidelity of it. You know what
They
I mean?
stink. You don't get a Switch, and you don't get the third party games on a Switch. You get a Switch, you get the Nintendo IP games. You want
Yep.
to play a third party game, you play it on Xbox Series X or PS5. Their ports are goddamn terrible. Look at MK1.
Yep. I was
It
thinking the
was
same thing.
it was laughable. I can't believe they even attempted to put MK1 out for the
Oh
Switch.
yeah.
It was garbage.
Melina was
Yeah.
cracking me up with the eyeballs hanging out.
Yeah, it looked like a Picasso painting.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Oh, so good.
DT
Man.
Grand Theft Auto 6 on the Switch with the sweat, no blood, the sweat code. You know.
Sweat code.
Yeah.
Sweat code.
Man, dude.
Hey Wolf,
Oh
real
my
quick,
gosh.
back to your final fight. I'm really glad you brought those up. There's a couple little Easter eggs in there. They had some of the Street Fighter characters like in the background, like Chun Li
Yes.
sitting at the
Mhm.
Because
table
it's
and stuff.
Capcom. You're right.
Final
Neat,
Fight
Yep.
2,
neat little
yep.
thing. And one of my friends got rid of all of his Super Nintendo. You know, when we were childhood playing Mario Kart, riding bikes, like I said, he got rid of all of his Super Nintendo stuff. So when he got married, I wanted to get him a Super Nintendo. And you know, you're searching eBay, what games come with it? I made sure the lot that I bought had all 3 of the Final Fight games because me
Ooh.
and him liked going to the arcade playing Final Fight 2-player. We liked playing Final Fight on the Super Nintendo. Was it as good as the arcade? No, but we didn't care at the same time. It was great playing those games on our home console because we didn't always have access to go to the arcade. So while not all the games were perfect ports from the arcade, it was still really great that you could play a lot of these games on your Super Nintendo, and they held up a lot better than the Nintendo ports did, you know. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep. And Mike, what's his name? He's the mayor, Hagar.
Mike Hagar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Hagar. He, you know, and you brought up a good point, Endgame, that he's in the final fights, right? He's one of the main characters. He's also in another game that I thought I was going to bring it out.
You
and
don't
I
have it.
don't, and
Slam Masters.
I am pissed.
Slam
Yes,
Masters.
Saturday Night
Slam
Slam
Masters.
Masters, man.
Saturday
He's
Night
a
Slam
playable
Masters.
character.
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
have to get that game again.
Yep,
Now
yep.
I'm pissed.
That's a merge of styles right there, where you think it's a wrestling game, but it's kind of like a side-scrolling.
It's
It
a
is.
fighter.
brawler.
It's a fighter.
Absolutely. Yep. Definitely.
Great call there. Yeah, Saturday
Yeah.
Night Slam Masters.
And-
Lots
and
of
another-
hours lost to that game.
Definitely.
Another Easter egg too is in the new Street Fighter 6. Whenever you create your own character and you go into Metro City, when it's showing the cinematics, you'll see a statue of Mike Hager too.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
awesome.
It's there.
Yeah.
The gold statue.
Yep. Yep, the gold statue. Yep.
Oh, that's dope. See, I wouldn't know that. I don't have Street Fighter 6.
Oh.
I
It's
know.
the Capcom
Good.
MCU or whatever,
Yeah.
their version of the,
Yeah.
the MCU.
Capcom
Everything's together.
MCU. Yep.
All right, is it
Great,
me?
great call. Yep,
Yes,
you're up,
on
man.
you.
Yeah, that was a.
Yeah, nice
I
game,
love
Wolf.
Final Fights, dude. So since we talk about Capcom, I'm gonna go into this. So we haven't really talked. We've mentioned them, but I'm gonna talk about a fighter. So
Ah,
Capcom fighters. All right. So I
Okay.
have to talk about this one because up until I would say Street Fighter 4, Ultra Street Fighter 4, up until that on PC, this was my favorite version of Street Fighter. Some people will say Street Fighter 3 is okay, whatnot, but Super Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo,
Yes.
Ooh,
this
gem.
game is freaking awesome,
He's got
Oh,
a
like
shirt.
the shirt.
dude. So anyone that's watching this, again, like I say it all the time, all 6 of you that are watching this, this specific game right here, when you put it in and you let it run and you get to see that intro screen with Ryu where it's like you just see him like just dark. Yep, you just see him just sitting there.
Lightning striking.
Yeah, just sitting there and the lightning starts striking on him and then he that whole, and I can hear the music right now, da-da-da-da-da-da, right at the
Mhm.
end. Man. And then you just go, oh, all right, that was a cool intro. You start playing the game, it's still fast. It has a great roster. The character sprites are still big. It's like it's pretty much like the better version of Street Fighter 2 that you could even find out in the arcades at that point. I
Yeah.
do remember this was expensive. This was one of those ones that were like because there were some Super Nintendo games that were just super expensive, but this was one of those ones that I think was a little bit more. But and it
I
was
think that was $70.
yeah,
I think.
it was one that was a
Mhm.
little bit
What?
more, and
Yeah.
there was less of them out. Like I had to hunt for
Golly.
this one a little bit when I wanted to buy it.
Yep.
Back when when Nintendo was out, because I've had this one since back. This was one of the ones that didn't get lost in the shuffle with the X. But anyways, this game specifically, if you're gonna play Street Fighter 2 on, I mean, some of the newer stuff, you know, if you're gonna play Street Fighter 3, or you know any of the Ultra Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 6, those are all great. But none of them grab the Street Fighter feel for me like this one does. Like this one, if I was to go back and just say what Street Fighter is the one that has the highest like nostalgia for me and feels the most like Street Fighter, this one right here. Now I have to tell you, Street Fighter 6 is the closest to this feel that I've had.
Oh,
Street Fighter
nice.
6, Street Fighter 6 is very, very well balanced. It is a very well balanced, deep game, but this one was that way too. It was balanced and deep as well. So, you know, playing T-Hawk and then figuring out like he was one of the banes of my existence, because that dude, his I don't know what it was, but his offensive style was just really wild for me. But you'll get those, and then DJ, you'll be like, oh, DJ is not gonna be nothing, and he just whoops your butt. So,
Yep.
But this game having all those extra characters, the great sound, how the sprites looked on a Super Nintendo, dude, it was
That's a great pick,
soul,
man.
dude.
Great pick.
Yeah, Super Street Fighter 2. I everything about that game was amazing, but I know for a fact the sound in that game is not better than the original Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo. Like when you hit somebody,
hmm
like it just
Yep.
didn't sound the same.
Yep.
But everything else about that game was pretty dope. Go back and look at DJ's level. Like you look at the level design,
And the
all
people
that
moving.
stuff looked really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that game and added Cammy, Fei Long, DJ,
Yep.
T-Hawk.
Yep.
And to your point, Larson, being the best since Street Fighter 6, I 100% agree. I was a Street Fighter guy. That was when that game was out, that's when Mortal Kombat 2 was out. That was WCW versus WWE or WWF during the Attitude. Like, oh man, this is must-see TV. that was the fighting game genre in a pinnacle, like that Super Street Fighter 2 versus Mortal Kombat 2. And I love Mortal Kombat more. I like the lore, the characters, the extra modes, the crypt, all that stuff. But that's the last Street Fighter game that I'd say, oh, this is as good as the Mortal Kombat games.
Yeah, that's a gem.
All right,
For sure.
DT, you're up.
This is the
Well,
last. This is the last,
last
round, by
round.
the way,
Yep,
folks.
last round.
All right.
The
Well,
last
since we're on,
round.
yeah, since we're on fighters, I had two that I'm gonna go between, but I'm gonna show this game some love because I think it needs to be recognized, and it's a fighter, and that's going to be Killer Instinct.
Oh,
I really enjoyed Killer Instinct. Now, if you
Killer
got the Killer
Instinct.
Instinct on Super Nintendo, you know it comes with a black cartridge. One of the very few you had. You know, you got the Spider-Man Carnage that was a red cartridge, and then you got
Yep.
that Killer Instinct that had that black cartridge. Now, when it came to fighting games, I think if I'm not mistaken, Killer Instinct was one of those first games to where you can just hit your opponent non-stop, just hitting them with combos, and it was nothing felt better than playing Killer Instinct, especially on Super Nintendo, and hearing that guy yell out Ultra, Ultra.
Yeah, with the
You
echo.
know what I mean? Just so to be able to pull off an Ultra, and then they had some pretty weird fatalities as well. Like you got, Orchid, she would just flash herself, and then the eyes will get real big, and they'll just fall out. I mean, they had some pretty cool fatalities, if that's what you want to call them. But that game was pretty cool. And then if you actually play the Killer Instinct that they made for Xbox, that game is straight fire. They have uh General Rom. Is General Rom on there from
Yep.
Gears of War? He's
Yep.
on there.
Mhm.
You got one of those Battletoads that's a playable
Yeah.
character on there. Like that game looks great and it plays great as
Yep.
well. And I don't understand with that franchise under Xbox. I don't know how have they not made another game since they came back out, what,
Shame.
2012, 2013, 14,
It
whenever it
still
came.
holds up too. It's awesome. Still.
It looks beautiful. I was
Yep.
playing it the other day on my Rock Ally, and I'm like, wow, what is Xbox doing? They have a gem, and right now is like the year of the fighters. Street Fighter 6 is out. Mortal Kombat 1 just
Tekken.
reinvented itself. Tekken, it's on its way out.
Mhm.
King of Fighter, I think they got a new
Mhm.
King of Fighters. I think a new Fatal Fury something is coming out. Like this is like the time for fighters.
Yeah,
Where's Killer Instinct? So that's why I had to show Killer Instinct some love,
it's a
man.
great pick.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to hear something sad? I mean, it's not sad for me because I'm not the type that messes with that. And so I bought this Killer Instinct, this one that I have here. This was actually, believe it or not, I bought it back in 2012. I think is when I got this one.
Okay.
So bought this in 2012,
Oh, there it is.
factory sealed, and I opened it. So
What made you open it?
I'm not that guy. If
Oh,
I'm
you're
gonna
not that
get
guy?
something, if I'm gonna get something,
I
I'm gonna
agree
play
with
it.
you.
I'm gonna
You're
play
not
it.
gonna buy a car and let it sit in the garage
Nope.
just to look at it every
Nope.
day?
And so
Yeah, my
so
man.
I got it, but again, anal. I slid open the plastic, opened up the edge.
That's
took
how we
that
do
one
it.
out.
Yep.
I took the Killer Cuts CD out too. That's another thing
Yeah.
that people forget about the Killer Cuts. They had a
Nice.
CD
Mhm.
with the music of the game, and it was freaking dope. So I had to
Yep.
have that CD. Actually, that's the
Yep.
reason why I bought it, because I couldn't get the CD. I wanted the physical
Standalone.
CD. I could not get it. Except for I found it only in this factory sealed version. Yes, what did I pay for it? I want to say back in 2012, I think I paid like $85 for it or something.
That's it.
Factory sealed. Yeah, back 2012. That was before
Yeah.
everything shot up, right? So, but even
Man,
at that
that's a
point,
great price.
it was a lot. That was a
great
lot.
price.
But even back then, it was a lot. I mean, like
That was a lot.
yeah, but like you could get the cart only at that point. At that time, I could get the cart only for $20 in
What a
great shape.
classic game,
So
bro.
I was
What
like, but I want that Killer Cut CD. So,
Ah.
but yeah, dude, great choice. I was playing it just
Mhm.
earlier today. I was playing
Oh,
some Killer
really?
Instinct. Yep. I was like,
Who's your main?
dude, Cinder.
Cinder.
Ooh, not Orchid. I would have
No.
thought you were an Orchid guy.
I like looking at Orchid, and I do like playing my female characters, but no, Cinder's my dude. So it's either gonna be Cinder, or there's three: Cinder, Fulgore, or Glacius. Those are the three that I gotta
Oh.
roll with.
I'm an Orchid and Jago
Yep,
type
they're
guy.
good
And then
too.
when you go to the newer one, I like Kim Woo.
hmm
Kim Woo is dope.
You know my favorite.
Wolf.
Who was that?
The werewolf.
Saberwolf.
Saberwolf. He's
Saberwolf.
the intro on my Megacade, man. He
Yeah,
pops over the
Saberwolf.
screen,
Yeah.
scratches.
Nice.
He's the marquee for the new Killer Instinct on Omega.
Is he?
Yep.
Oh,
Nice. Well, and D Thomas, to your point, why haven't they made this again? A lot of the franchise we talked about, they go on these long, we talked about F-Zero, Punch Out. The Wii one was amazing. Why isn't there a Punch Out on the Switch? I just don't understand why some of these franchises, they just go so long dormant,
Because they wanted to sell
Yeah.
an already pre-made one on the Switch. Because that's what they did. Like, we don't need to make another one. We'll just sell one we already made on the Switch.
So if Punch Out was on the Wii U, you're saying we would have had a Punch Out on the Switch, because then it's already made and they would have just ported it to the Switch.
Probably.
think about it, bro. Think about it. I have Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U.
Yep.
The Switch come March 17th, 2024, the Switch will be at 6 years that it's been out. They didn't give us a new Mario Kart. Now it's cool that they gave us new tracks and stuff, but they didn't give us a new Mario Kart. So, and then you got to think too. Killer Instinct was an exclusive to Nintendo, but it's not now. There it is. I got that same cartridge
me
on
too.
Wii U. I got
You
the
said
same
8
one.
years old on the Switch.
Uh-huh.
How long ago did it come out on Wii U?
Oh, exactly.
That's
You're right.
that's my
Been out
point. That's what I'm trying
forever.
to say. So it Mario Kart has been they just okay, give them some new tracks, give them a couple new playable characters, and boom.
Freaking cheap.
So so why not? And then they don't even have Killer Instinct anymore. Xbox owns they're up under
They own it.
Rare is up under Xbox umbrella. So I don't know what Xbox is doing, and we'll talk about them in another episode with all the money that they got, and how they can, yeah, we'll get on them another one. But yeah, Killer Instinct, dope man. It's a really fire game, man. It still holds up to this day.
Agreed.
Oh,
Amazing
boy.
game. Amazing fighter. Really underrated, I think, too. It doesn't get enough due, I think, enough respect in the fighting genre as it should.
Yeah, as it should. Like it straight up should. I think it holds up, especially if you're talking about newer versions too, older versions as well. Like the Super Nintendo one, beautiful, played great. But even the newer ones, I think the 3 top franchises like that really stand out are, of course, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and I think Killer Instinct, because of how well they play, how balanced they are on the newer stuff in particular, but even the older stuff too. Now you throw into there, that's not even my favorite franchise. Like my favorite is Guilty Gear. So I still love them, but yeah, the Killer Instinct needs to be in the conversation more often than it is. Like straight up.
Just not as many games as a lot of those other franchises,
Right. They got the Super Nintendo, then they got Killer Instinct. They came out on the N64. They didn't come out on the GameCube, Wii, or Wii U. And the next thing you know, Rare was up under Xbox wing, and then they dropped that Killer Instinct on Xbox, which was an Xbox exclusive. Phenomenal game, and they've been quiet ever since.
Yep.
Microsoft and Rare decided to make those the Mii's on Xbox, the avatars, instead of making Killer
And that's
Instinct,
a cool idea too. But yeah, Doritos Crash Course. I played that with my little created character. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
Get those easy achievements.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Achievement Hunter. All right, go ahead, Endgame. What you got?
Okay, so one thing I really like about the Super Nintendo is it took a lot of my games that I really enjoyed on the Nintendo and basically perfected them. And we talked about this in other ones, like Castlevania 4, perfection of what came before. Contra 3, perfection of what came out on NES. You have like Super Metroid, perfection of the Metroid games. Even, Zelda 3 you guys talked about in the last one. So this isn't near as heavy a hitter as those, and it does tie into your Killer Instinct you just talked about. It's Battletoads in Battle Maniacs. And I really like the Battletoads game on Nintendo. Super punishing, hard game.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought Battletoads and Battle Maniacs on the Super Nintendo was a perfection of it.
Look at
It
that.
had the larger character sprites, the graphics. Oh, yeah. Battletoads and Double Dragon. Call back to your Super Double Dragon, DT.
Oh, I'm sorry. I held up the wrong game.
Yeah, he just had them both.
Dumbass.
Just throw them both up, dude. It's
There you
fine.
go.
Yeah, throw them both up.
Okay.
We're covering Battletoads, Double Dragon, Killer Instinct. We got it all.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, look at
and
and 2
so-
carts.
Yeah. Yeah, the first ever 2 cartridges to play. But like a lot of people thought Battletoads was just a beat 'em up brawler, and that's the first level is the beat 'em up brawler, and then all of a sudden it's like a vertical scrolling level where you're going down this shaft, and then the next level is the infamous speeder bike level, which I mean, if you can beat that game, you're in for the long run. If you can't beat that game, that level, Battletoads isn't for you. Any of you guys beat the speeder bike level?
Oh yeah, but that's what separated the boys from that's what separated the men from the boys. If you beat that level, it was either you were going to beat that level and you loved the game and you were going to keep playing it, or that level was like a hard stop, kind of like Dark Souls for some people, or the new Armored Core. There's certain points it's like a hard stop, and they're either going to go, "Ooh, I'm going to push past and figure this out," or I'm just going to go, "Nope, I'm done."
Yep,
100%.
Even if you were good enough to, because it was like spiked wood that you had to dodge going down. So even if you were man enough to get through down that and good enough to get through that and still have some lives left, okay, now you got to ride a hover bike and you got to know when to properly jump. Because if you miss time to jump, you're gonna fly off that joint and then you're done.
You're done.
Then, you got to, those games back then, you got to start back over. You can't just pick up where you left off.
Oh my
no
God.
save states.
All the way back.
And we didn't have a game genie, so
punishing.
Well, and DT, to your point on how difficult it was, to me, Battletoads and Battlemaniacs was the first game that had 2-player co-op, but it made the game harder 2-player co-op, because when you got to that speeder bike level, you both had to get through it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Player, you both had to get through
That's
it.
true.
When you're having a perfect run, and Wolf all of a sudden crashes into that wall, we're starting over.
You're
so
done.
Like, that was like, I'd tell my buddy, "You're out. I'm beating this," and then we're moving on. We want to see the end of this game.
Yep.
That was pretty unique, like back then.
Dude,
and I'm crashing on purpose too.
Dude, we still do that. My daughters and I still do that on Super Mario 3D World. Like, nope, you're bubbling. Bubble right now. And I make them bubble, and then I get through a spot, and all right, pop them back out.
You come back in now.
Well, and DT, you talk Killer Instinct, right? It was gone for a long time. Recently came back on the Xbox. Same with Battletoads.
Same thing.
Yeah, you're right.
And then recently came back. Not a fan of the new art style for it.
No,
but
neither am I.
The gameplay was fun though. If you actually play it, get past the art style, it was a fun game.
And some of the dialogue was kind of cheesy too. But,
Correct. You have to get past the visuals of it. The gameplay was fun though.
I mean, but come on, the main characters are Zit, Pimple, and Rash. I mean, what do you expect's gonna be? When you learn about that, you just go, all right.
And the uncle's hemorrhoid.
And then of course they're battling this super sexy Dark Queen the whole time.
Yeah.
No, and most people know of the speeder bike level, that level being tough as nails. Oh, get to the snake level after that, where the snakes are bringing you into the spikes. And then if you get past that, it's this like roller coaster level where you have to precisely do like up, down, left, right when you're going through the different directions. See, I recently tried to play this with save states on my arcade. I'm like, oh, I'm beating this.
Dude,
I'm not good enough to beat it now.
Hard.
You can't, because the
controller, the joystick is too far of a throw. Even on like my IL Euros, I know exactly what you're talking about because I ran into that same thing. You think they're super responsive. You need the actual hard controller to do it.
Yes. To your point, Larson, you have to play it on Super Nintendo hardware. I have my Xbox 360 controller. I'm like, I like to play it on the arcade. Not working. I can't beat this level. Let's play with the Xbox controller. No, that D-pad sucks on the 360. You got to play it on Super Nintendo to beat it.
Have you ever thought about Endgame? Maybe you just stink.
No.
Thought about it.
I've seen him play games. He doesn't.
I'm teasing. I know he's great at games.
Wolf crashing on purpose.
I know. So he's like, Wolf was like, I got this.
You just stink.
Dang it, Wolf.
Oh man,
all right.
I had to.
All right, buddy, you're up.
Thanks, man.
Okay, well, here we go.
Oh my gosh, you're getting the giggles now, Wolf.
I'm gonna see if I can hold all 4 of these up at once.
Oh my gosh.
You probably can't see it because my
Wolf says last one, and he shows 4.
Kirby. I see a Kirby.
These are all 4 Kirby games for the Super Nintendo, which are all gems. Kirby Superstar.
Another heavy hitter.
You know, there's lots of mini games, lots of games in one. This is probably one of my favorites of the 4. This is Kirby's Dream Land 3, which is a ton of fun. This one I thought was just okay, not bad. Kirby's Dream Course. And this is, I love this one. This is Kirby's Avalanche.
Oh,
Nice.
And each are different. One's like a platformer, you got a puzzler, you got mini games, and you got something for everybody. And you know, for me, this is another product. I think it was HAL, right? The company was HAL, and then the HAL
yeah.
that made Kirby, and then it was kind of like, was it consumed or sucked into Nintendo and became a Nintendo product?
Yeah, did Nintendo buy the rights to them or
Yeah,
something?
I think they did. And because the guy that was part of HAL who made Kirby ended up becoming a president of Nintendo for a while. And I think when he was president of Nintendo, I think that's when they bought, like, HAL as a company, took them in and made Kirby a mascot, or one of the characters or subsidiary games for the company. And Kirby's great. It's more, I think, geared for children. If you're going to look at the series, like Mario, I think is a platformer that appeals to everybody. Then you got the Zelda franchise, and then you got like the niches that we talked about, the Metroids, the Pikmins, the F-Zeros, but then you got Kirby, which is easier games, more kid-friendly. And my kids love Kirby. My younger son just beat the one on Switch that had just come out, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is actually
right there.
a really cool game.
Great game.
Yeah,
There it is,
really
right
great
there.
game.
Love it.
But there's something about Kirby that appeals to, I don't know, I guess maybe a younger audience. I
Adults
still
alike
like
now.
it. Yeah, I mean, I
love it
play
too.
it too, but
Mhm.
I think overall, I think of all of the series, the ones that I had talked about, the Kirby series is not going to rank higher than, say, Mario, Zelda,
No, but would
and
you consider
Metroid.
him an A-lister though? I would say he's
Yes,
an A-lister.
I would.
Kirby got some dope games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the tier just below Mario and Zelda,
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you
if I
played
were to
this one?
say. Oh, that's one of
Planet
my
Robot?
favorites. That's a
Or-
great one.
Or the Battle Royale?
Yep, that's a gem.
I love these Kirby games,
Yep.
man.
Mhm.
I loved Rainbow, with the one on Wii U, where you had to use the stylus, and
Yeah.
I thought that was really unique and creative, and just a cool franchise. A lot of fun, the Kirby games. But I popped them in today, a couple of them, and I was like, I don't know if I really like them as much as I did, like 20 plus years ago. I still liked the Kirby Superstar. I liked Dreamland 3, but the other two, I was like, there's other fish in the sea I'd rather play.
Wolves takes it like this and puts it right back on the shelf. You can see it right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, maybe a little too juvenile for me.
I don't know.
Very juvenile.
The meaning.
It's
That's why
too
Dantron
juvenile.
likes them. Dantron likes them.
Yeah.
So I think they're awesome. The first time I watched Kirby like actually eat and absorb something, I just lost it. Like
Yeah.
like where were you when the first time you saw Kirby suck one off and he had some magic powers? I was like, man, this game's awesome. So, yeah, I loved Kirby. It's a fun game. It has a wide, so Nintendo overall, even nowadays is geared more towards younger generation. I mean, it just is, that's just how it is. So the game being as juvenile as you say it is, Wolf, that's going to appeal to more of the people that Nintendo sells to. So again, that's why I'm putting it up there with that in that upper tier for Nintendo properties. But yeah, because it everyone, again, it's not It's not specific to a type of person or anything. You know, adults like it, kids like it. It doesn't matter. You know, XY or X chromosomes. It doesn't make a difference. Everybody loves Kirby. If they give it a chance, they like those type of games. They're gonna play those games, right? It's not as niche as some of the other games that we've talked about. So yeah, I like Kirby a lot though. It's great no matter what Kirby I play. It's kind of like Rayman when you think about it. Like I like Rayman the same way that I like Kirby games. You know, like you kind of know what to expect for the most part, but it's just a fun play every time you pick
I
it
like
up.
Rayman more.
Oh, you do?
think without a doubt. I mean, Rayman Legends could be one of the greatest platformers of all time.
Yeah.
I will play that game and beat it with my sons every year. It's that good, and we try to get all the blue, I forget what they're called, lums
Yeah.
in each level, and just the platforming is so good. Same with the one that came out before Legends. God, what the hell was that called? Well, anyway, it was the game that came out before Legends that's actually in Legends, that you could go in and you could go into the paintings and you could play levels of the game that came out before, which I thought was just as good, but Legends was a little better. Does anybody remember the name of that Rayman game?
I don't.
God darn it.
Like
No.
3D or something like that.
No.
No.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Any
Sorry, I
look
derailed
it
that
up,
one
but-
again. I did.
yeah,
Well-
I did derail it.
Full disclosure on Kirby, I
Son of a
never
gun.
played the Kirby games back on Super Nintendo back in the day, partially because of what you guys are saying.
Right.
Pretty easy. I like the challenge of Mario. I like the challenge of, Zelda in those games. However, the most recent game that DT showed that Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, my first Kirby that I played start to finish, I loved it. It was easy, but we played on the hardest difficulty with the goal of trying to find everything. Some of that stuff's a little trickier to find. It made me feel a little bit more like Mario. Like, okay, beating a level in Mario is easy, but if you want to find all the collectibles, all the secrets, it's pretty challenging. And this makes me want to go back and play some of these games because, first off, I had an experience, like Dan said, once you play one, you get hooked. Well, I like this one, and now you guys are all bringing up some great examples of some good ones. Time for me to go back and play some Kirby. That's one of the awesome things about this retro law. Brings up stuff you don't have access to, and then, oh, this sounds good. Jot a note down, and now let's check it out. So appreciate you guys doing this show and bringing up all these good games.
Rayman Origins.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, I love Law for just hanging out with you guys and talking games, and it just so happens that we bring up some stuff. Somebody might hear something and go, you know what? Let me check that out. And I really like it when people come back to me and they go, dude, that was awesome. Yeah, I would have never thought to try. For instance, who was it last time? Eric texted me a couple times. He's like, dude, I had no idea ActRaiser. I loved Super Nintendo, and I never even tried it. And so. Yeah, that's the stuff that I like. When people reach back out and they go, you know what, I just didn't know, and now I was able to enjoy something else, and it's just a fun situation. I love it.
100%. That's
right.
why I started watching the show, because you guys have so much video game knowledge, and you just want to absorb it. It's awesome.
It's a good time, especially hanging out with you guys. So we're up to the last game though. So
all right.
Well, it's on. How was it 3 games or 4 games?
3.
3. Why, do you want another one? I'll give you another
No,
one.
no,
after
no,
this.
no, 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 go, no. It's on you, I think.
Yeah, it's on me. But
It's
if you
on
want
you.
this extra
Yeah.
game, I'll give you one.
Negative.
Yeah,
coach.
you get a
Alright.
bonus game,
Yeah.
man.
No, go ahead.
All right. So this game right here, dude, what's not to like about this game? It's a shmup. It's freaking awesome. It's fast. It's the bosses are insane. Huge bosses. The gameplay is fantastic.
R-Type?
Yep.
Nice.
I
Good
do.
job.
R-Type.
Oh,
Super
yeah.
R-Type. So by the way, this is another one. I know Wolf is keen on this kind of stuff. Pay attention to these type of games. This IREM.
Oh yeah.
Those are some titles. If you want to look up some IREM titles, kind of like what we were talking about. What was it? We were talking about. It wasn't Acclaim. It was Hudson.
No.
Hudson Soft?
Atlas.
Yeah, Atlas games.
Atlas.
Same situation. IREM.
Low print.
Yep. Low print. This one I think had pretty good print. But Super R-Type, this game, again, like DT brought up the last episode, and he brought it up again, is freaking super. Like you like
Mhm.
R-Type, this is R-Type times 6.
It is.
This is a
Mm.
super version of R-Type. Super fun. It's hard, but not too hard. That's the big thing.
Mhm.
Like that's I think what actually separated this for me, because I like difficult games, but sometimes games are just, if they're just hard just to be hard, I don't enjoy them quite as much. It becomes
Mhm.
more like a challenge to beat them, and I don't necessarily like it as much. This game had a great balance of it ramped up
Mhm.
the difficulty very slowly. It was still pretty hard. It started off, probably I would say medium difficulty, and it would ramp up to hard. But it wouldn't be like starting at hard and ramping up to near impossible. So that's the thing that I love about this game. Again, great music too. The sound in this game, awesome. The effects, the sprites, all of
Yep.
that stuff had it. This game had it going on, like no joke. And the bosses, like the crazy bosses that are in here, you're like,
Yeah.
what the heck is this?
Yeah.
I just really enjoy this game. This is, if you like shmups, this is definitely a shmup I would try out. I know Wolf and I talked about another good one in, which episode was that? I think it was PlayStation. Einhander. That was
Yes.
that was a great.
Yes.
I put this one up there with that. I like Einhander, but I like this version of R-Type, Super R-Type, just as much. This game is awesome. So you guys, if you get a chance, I would definitely suggest checking it out. What do you guys think?
Well,
Yeah.
before anybody says anything, I'm gonna blow Endgame and DT's underwear right off their lower half right now, because
Should I cover my
they're
eyes?
not even gonna know that this game existed.
Okay.
Because
Let me see.
many people
Let's see.
don't. So if you like what Dan just showed you, then this is, I don't know if you could see it,
Oh my god.
R-Type
Hold up,
3.
hold up.
R-Type 3
Is that a US
for
version?
Super Nintendo. That is a US
Wow.
version, rare as
Rare.
hell. You could
Super
see
rare.
it's not Irem that
Nope.
did it, it's Jalico, but
Oh.
Okay.
it is just as awesome as
Is it
the
just
one
as good as
Dan-
the
I-
one he just the original?
Nice.
you know,
I
I
know
will
that
always
music.
have
I know that music can't be the same.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's the original is better, but this is right up there. It's like a rung right below.
Okay.
That's
Super,
awesome.
super good, and it's one to play on your Megacade. You don't. I mean, this is rare. This is a couple $100. Guess what? We all have it. So go try it when we're done the
Okay.
episode. You'll love it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
No, and that's awesome. Like we've talked about so many different, heavy hitters, different
Oh.
genres. We haven't even touched on the shmups, and this is a great choice, Larson.
Yeah.
Super R-Type, great game.
Dude,
It is.
Yeah, I love this. I just looked up R-Type 3 really quick. I'm like 240 inbox CIB inbox for 1200.
Yep. Super
Yeah.
rare.
You weren't
Yeah.
kidding, Wolf.
Yeah. No, I don't
Gosh,
fuck around when
yeah,
it
he
comes to the
doesn't mess
prices.
around.
Hey, well, see, that's where the emulation steps in. Now, if you're one of
Yep.
those guys that that are collectors and you got the space for it, hey, have at it, do your thing. I'm almost tapped out in space with the Retrocade, Megacade, and all this other stuff.
Oh, you got the
so that's
pinball too
in
now.
the pinball. That's where that's where the emulation comes in.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
But yeah.
when we talked about, the Super Nintendo Classic, like Nintendo, this is an authorized Nintendo product. It's amazing how many people never got to play these games with this controller. This was
Lots.
their chance to do that. You know what I mean? It's awesome. There's awesome ways that you can do it, through Nintendo as well.
But
guys,
you know what though, Endgame, here's where Nintendo failed. When those came out and the Nintendo one came out first,
Mhm.
the product did not meet the demand because
100%.
I wanted one. I couldn't find it on any shelves. You had all of those resellers that were buying it and doubling and tripling the price. It pissed me off. And Nintendo, you heard what DT said, 53 billion. Here's a company that knows they have a fan base, put out enough goddamn classics that everybody could have one.
Oh,
Like,
you
Wolf,
can probably
it's so stupid.
you can
So, Wolf,
probably
do you
thank
have
the
a
amiibo
Go ahead.
collectors because they didn't put out enough amiibos either, and they got away with it. People just bought them up.
Stupid.
Yep, I agree.
Hmm.
The scalping is ridiculous.
But
too
that's why you
nowadays.
just get one of those amiibo generators where you can just change to whatever amiibo it is and put it on there. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm not saying that you should do that, but those are out there.
Yeah,
Oh, I
wait
didn't know.
till the Switch 2 comes out or the Switch Pro. That's going to be a nightmare trying to get that.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Wolf, did you like? So I don't know if this is a trend with. Not saying that it's a trend with you, but I didn't know that you was having a hard time finding a SNES Classic. My brother got me one, and then I went on eBay and bought one, and it came with a little thumb drive, and it has every SNES game on there. So that's pretty cool. But I remember you was having some issues getting that PS5 too, huh? Like when
Yep.
it dropped.
I ended up getting. I have a Nintendo Classic, and I have
Okay.
the Super Nintendo Classic, and mine are sealed because I don't need to open them. I'm playing it on the actual hardware, right? So it's stupid for me to open it. I also have a TurboGrafx 16 one, which
Ooh.
holds a place in my heart. That's really
I
rare.
know.
And it's
I
got
know.
the controllers because, as you know, I had to sell my goddamn TG
Enti-
system to pay for that big hunk of thing in the back. And,
Yeah.
so at least, if I could play, it's not the same, I want to play Splatterhouse like Dan does, on the actual hardware, but that's the next best thing for me right now.
So would you buy a N64 or a GameCube Mini?
That's exactly what I was going to ask him.
Well, guess what?
Yes.
I would, because it's the collector in me. I have
Okay.
the Genesis Mini.
Yep.
I have the Mega Drive Mini, the TurboGrafx, the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo. Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yep.
No, just and that's probably
He'd
the
stick them with the
collector in me.
boxes just up on the shelf, just next
Yeah.
to each other.
DT, do you think they're going to actually do an N64 Classic, or do you think they're done with it now that they're releasing them on the Switch eShop?
Oh yeah. But you still got personnel out there that would love to get it.
Absolutely.
I think they probably would. And if I were Nintendo, it literally prints money. You have
Right.
personnel out there like myself and you and all of us
Yep.
Yeah.
that would literally go out there to
Absolutely.
buy it. Some like Wolf that'll just buy it to have it and not open it. Others just to relive the nostalgia of playing with those because you get official those
Controllers.
official looking controllers. You know, who would
Absolutely.
love that?
Yeah.
And then if they mess around and do something crazy like we're gonna give you Mario 64, Star Fox 64,
Donkey Kong
Star Fox,
Country.
yeah, Donkey Kong Country, and
Mario Kart
better yet,
64.
we're gonna give you Star Fox 64, and guess what? We're gonna throw in there a Rumble Pack. People will wig out, bro. They'll buy it. It'll
Yep.
sell out.
We added the rumble feature to the actual legit controllers. Dude, they can
Yeah.
easily do that.
So is it? See, Nintendo they pioneer a lot of stuff in the industry, and everybody else copies. So,
Mhm.
for instance, if I'm not mistaken, they started with the Rumble Pack, and then that kind of birthed rumbling
Yep.
haptic in the controllers, right? They started doing Nintendo Directs, and everybody else started following suit. They
Yep.
made the Nintendo Switch, and now you got a Legion that literally is a PC Switch. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And this is a lot better, powerful than the Switch.
Right.
But but they do a lot of things in the gaming realm and they create that blueprint and
Yep.
everybody just follows suits in their own way, which is nothing is wrong with that. If somebody's doing something, you're admiring what they're doing, well, I'm going to take a piece of that page but put my own spin on it and do it our way. So that's good that they do that. I just wish that they could just give us more powerful hardware and stop this mantra of well, we're not trying to compete. We're just,
Doing our
no,
stuff.
stop. You make consoles, bro. You are competing.
Don't forget the Wii. They revolutionized the Wii, and look at all the companies that started to copy
yeah.
off of that. The
Yeah.
Sony with the Move, and
The
Yep.
Connect.
the
Connect.
Kinect, exactly. So Nintendo, like you said,
Huh.
DT pioneers this stuff, and everybody copies it, and it is what it is. They're trendsetters. What could I say?
Is it safe to say that Nintendo, yeah, they are trendsetters, Wolf. So is it safe to say that when it comes to the Nintendo brand, are they when it come back to me. Wolf just I mean not Wolf, Daniel just did something and it just went. I was gonna ask something very important about
I
Nintendo.
didn't even say anything.
But you did it with your mind or something, bro. Dang well, so Nintendo, would you think they have the best when it comes to their first party? Do you think they have the better first party of games when it comes to the consoles. Like you got let's say for instance Sony. You got they got God of War, Uncharted, Drake, and all those
Last of
Ratchet and
Us.
Clank and Last of Us. And then you look at Nintendo. You got the Mario's and the Zeldas. Like who do you think has? And then Xbox, Halo, Forza. Who has the best lineup of first party games?
Nintendo.
Yep.
Well, it's
Nintendo?
clearly between Sony and Nintendo, not
No.
not Microsoft.
Yeah,
That is,
Nintendo.
yep.
Nintendo straight up.
Nintendo would be way more valuable if their catalog went up and everyone could have it on their system. Everybody would want that over Sony's, guaranteed.
Yep.
Like if you could get Mario on,
It's a
on
no-brainer.
Steam, and yeah, for sure.
So
Well, and D. Thomas, to your point with the innovation, even like their failed console, the Wii U, which a lot of people consider that a huge failure because
I love that.
I love the Wii
Same.
U, and look at that. That is the Wii U right there. So
This
PlayStation
is
5 is
a
doing it.
glorified
Yes.
Wii U.
Yep,
This
that's
thing
exactly what I
cannot
was gonna
operate
say.
without the PS5.
Yep.
This is a Wii U gamepad.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
all
Yeah.
this kind of pretty much is.
Yep.
So
And that was
this
a
is,
failed console,
and
but Sony's still, copying that idea.
I want this thing to be successful. It's catching a lot of hate, a lot of controversy, and I was kind of on the fence, but I wanted to see it for myself. It's awesome when it works. I want this to be successful. Why? Because if Sony looks at this and says, "Oh, you know what? This thing is super successful," maybe, just maybe, they'll get out of their Nintendo mindset. And when I say Nintendo mindset, because you only can use this. Well, you can work a way around it, but you have to use proprietary their $200 Bluetooth headphones to work with this. But there's a way around it or whatnot. But if they could just, if that thing is successful, so to speak, it's sold out everywhere. Like you can't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
It's
You
not a
can't
little
get it.
smart strategy to do it before Thanksgiving and before the holidays or what have you. But I want this portal to be successful, because if it is, I'm hoping that Sony will be like, you know what, that's successful. And the the handheld market is crazy right now. Everybody's getting in it. Lenovo Legion Go, you got the ROG Ally, Steam Deck just came out. They just
Yep.
refurbished or redid their mid-gen refresh on theirs. So
Yep.
I hope
OLED
Sony is,
screen.
yeah. So I hope Sony is sitting back looking like, you know what, and the new Nintendo Switch is about to come out. We got all these new handheld
Vita
consoles.
2.
We need to do a
Yeah.
Vita-ish too. And if they do it with
Yes.
these, because this right here, out of all the handhelds that I have, including the Legion Go and all this right here is the most comfortable, because if you like playing with the DualSense controller, the haptic feedback, these feel really good in the
Yeah, I
hands.
heard it's amazing.
Only the screen looks amazing too, but it would be a lot better if this screen was OLED. But for it to be an LCD, it looks great. But if they give us a Vita 2-ish in this kind of form factor, and give us a cartridge base, or make it to where we can download games, make it to where it's $400. Bro, it was. I'm
It's
telling
got
you,
my
it was.
money if it does.
Yeah,
It's got
it'll
my
sell,
money.
bro.
here's the
It'll
thing that I
sell.
look at too. The difference between Nintendo and Sony. Sony has a lot more irons in the fire. It's not just consoles for them, right? Sony has a lot of other stuff. They got TVs, they got Blu-ray players, they got, right. So they're spread a little bit more thin when you think about it. So also Sony has, even when we're talking console, they got something that Nintendo don't right now, which is VR.
PlayStation
So
VR too.
do they want to take energy away from VR to go to a handheld? These are all the things, as me as like a business owner, I start thinking about like how they would look at it as a business opportunity. But yeah, you know what I'm saying though? That's the only reason I can see that they don't.
Away? You think they're taking business away from the PlayStation VR 2? I know for some people that's a hard sell for some folks,
It
because
is.
here you have the console that's 500, then you got the headset that's 500. That's $1,000, and you ain't even got a game yet.
Yep.
Yep.
So you're looking at $1,200-1,300 just to play the VR 2, which can't operate without a PS5. Whereas you got something like I got over here, the Quest 3, and you can play it anywhere, and it's only what, four? So how much is the Quest 3?
It's like five. It's
500.
there's a
Yeah.
500 and a $650.
But it works amazing.
Yeah.
It works well. So you pay it $500-600, but you can take it anywhere, and you don't have to have a PC or a
Yep.
console for it
Oh
to
yeah.
play. So it
Yep.
kind of, but I do like the fact that Sony gives you more ways to play, like playing PSVR 2. I got the racing wheel and playing Gran Turismo 7 in that. Phenomenal. I love that they're giving you more ways to enjoy and experience games. But yeah, I mean, gaming is, as you guys know, from even from a collector standpoint up into modern gaming, it's very expensive, bro. I mean, you add these $70 games up, and everybody has a backlog. And if you're a collector, you start adding those games up. This is a very, it can be a very expensive
Oh yeah.
hobby, but due to like Game Pass and stuff like that, unless it's a big exclusive, you might want to scale back on buying games. I purchased my brother. I got him uh what's that scary game that just came out? It's been out for a while, but
Dead
it's a
Space.
scary, not the, it's Dead Space little brother. What's it called?
Callisto
Protocol?
Callisto
Protocol.
Protocol.
Yep.
So I bought that for my brother, right? Sent it to him. 3 days later, it got announced for PlayStation Plus. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh,
These games come out so quick, man. Just like the movies. I'm like, man, I really wanted to see Blue Beetle, and I just saw today it's already out on HBO Max. I'm like, well, dang,
mhm.
stuff comes out quick, man. So sometimes you just have to hold back. But yeah, I think I want I want that system to be successful, so Sony can possibly give us a new dedicated handheld console, because the Vita was way ahead of its time.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure you guys have one.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
The Vita still outclasses the Switch. I've made videos on my
Oh, I
channel
love my
talking
Vita.
about the Vita,
Yeah.
and
Love
the
it.
Vita runs laps around the Nintendo Switch. I mean, you got web browsing, you got voice chat, voice parties, friends list, web browsing,
Oh my
playing
God.
online
It's
with
got the
friends.
touch at the back.
Got
Yep.
I
The
know that
touchscreen at the
whole.
back. It was so cool.
it has a camera on it, for crying
Yeah,
out loud. It has
it's
everything
amazing.
that Nintendo don't. And
Yep.
I don't know why Sony just need to do what they just showed you guys. Make one of those, make it a new Vita. Don't get away from the proprietary stuff, proprietary memory cards, because that's what killed the Vita in sales and stuff like that. They just get away from that and open that thing up.
Yep.
They will sell out the yin yang, man.
Oh
But
yeah.
anyway,
Yep. So going back to your question that you asked, D, on who has the better lineup. We've all agreed it's Nintendo. Just so you know, too, if Nintendo didn't have that lineup with their inferior product that is out on the market right now in the Switch, they would not survive. So they have
I agree. I
they
agree.
have that's the only thing that's keeping them going is the first party, basically the first party
Yeah.
But
games
they're
that they
not
got.
going anywhere.
I know.
Whoever
No.
Shigeru Miyamoto,
Uh-huh.
that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Who Mario, Zelda, they're not going anywhere. They're
Nope.
big.
No.
Zelda's about to get his own movie.
Yep.
Yep.
And, Prince is about to get her own game. I mean, they're
Yeah,
too
you're
big.
right.
They're too iconic. They're not going anywhere.
But that's
Have you
The
not
Mario
seen-
movie, smashing success.
But
A
that's
look at-
$1 billion.
look at in game. Look
Theme
over
parks.
in game's right. Look over in game's right shoulder. Have you not played Super Mario Wonder? Game
Yeah.
is amazing.
Oh, it's
But
amazing.
that's why again you're wondering why they aren't giving you a stronger system. That's why they don't
Yep,
have to.
They don't have to.
Right? So again,
Right.
that's a smart business decision on their part. I don't have to. The longer I can keep this inferior system relevant in the market, it's cheaper for us to produce. That's more profit in our pockets. So we don't
Yeah.
have to at this moment, right? Because they
But
messed up. Go ahead.
But we're all developers. We're all game developers, and we're trying to bring our new game to their system. I can imagine the headaches of like, man, well, when you got 100 million personnel that has switches, and you're trying to get your new Hogwarts Legacy in their hands. If I got a 12-year-old little sister and she's a big Harry Potter fan, do you think she's going to care about what the graphics look like on Hogwarts Legacy versus PlayStation? No. She's going to want it on the Switch. So that's why they port
Yeah.
those games, even though they look a muddied mess. They're going to port it on the Switch and sell more. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I see your point. That's a good point, Dan. So, yeah.
And I mean, we all have the luxury. We own, the new consoles, the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and a Switch. What about the people that only have a Switch? They're going to play Mortal Kombat 1 on it. They're going to
You're
play
right.
Resident Evil 6
You're right.
on it or whatever.
There's
You know
no
what I mean?
choice
They're
for
going to look
those
like crap,
people.
and we're going to laugh at them. But to them, they get to
That's what
play
they
it.
get.
So I
You
guess
are
that's
right,
kind of
brother.
like us having a Super Nintendo, not a Sega Genesis, and us getting Mortal Kombat 1. We're going to play it with sweat. You know what I mean? We can't play it
That's it.
the other way.
That's right. Sweat mode.
You're right, bro. Good point. Great point.
So this episode was great, dude. I love the end talk that we had where we just kind of riffed on stuff. It was a little bit outside of what we normally would talk about on the supplemental, but we did a lot of talk on the Super Nintendo. That's really what we wanted to do. This is just supplemental 1. I plan on doing another couple of supplemental episodes on this. I know there's some more people that want to get in on this. We had some more good ideas of other episodes that we could bring up outside of just reviewing consoles. That I'm
Hidden
gonna.
gems.
Yep, we got hidden
Yeah.
gems that are kicking. We still got peripherals that's going to happen. So stuff is popping here in Law. So I just want to let you guys know. I want to say thanks to everybody. DT, that's D Thomas from NC. We got Endgame Arcade. Check out both of them. Very successful YouTubers. Check out their channels. Give them a like, a subscribe, all the good things. To Wolfman, thank you so much for always joining me on this wonderful voyage that we're on when it comes to these Law episodes. Thanks for being my friend. All of you, thanks for being my friend. Thanks for being here. Anybody else have anything to say?
Thanks for having me on, bro. It's been a pleasure. Second time rocking with you guys, and it's been good. Loving it.
Yep. Always appreciate the guest invite. I've been a fan of the show from the start. Keep it going. Plenty more. I want to see a supplemental 2, 3, 4 with everyone else. I want to see their games, their opinions. Keep it going, man.
Yep. And just real quick, I was talking with the guys. Since we did the Super Nintendo episode, I have since brought out the Super Nintendo, hooked it up to this TV monitor right here beside me. My kids yesterday, they both were playing Super Mario Lost Levels and Super Mario World for the first time, and they were loving it. And I have gone down the rabbit hole because now I'm looking at my Super Nintendo games and I'm like, wow, what happened to Saturday Night Slam Masters? I thought I had that. Now I'm trying to find it on eBay and trying to give it. Yep, there it is.
I just bought 2 Super Nintendo games in the past week after we talked about it. Castlevania 4 is on its way. Castlevania
2023.
I know.
You still buying Super Nintendo games?
Man, so like just hype, dude. Like games that, because there's a lot of these games. I don't know if you know my story about that, D. But I had a lot of these games, and then I had basically they disappeared with an X. So I had to rebuy a bunch of this stuff, like starting in like 2008 or so is when I started buying a lot of my older stuff back up. That there was a few that I still had, but most of them were gone.
Yeah.
So there's ones that come up, like the few that they were talking about. There's been a few that I'm like, oh, dude, I remember I had that. I never finished playing it. I need to get it now. So I've now started to do that. But again, sometimes game collecting is cost prohibitive, and you gotta have space for it. So
yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
Yes.
it's crazy.
Quick similar story, Larson. When I got my Nintendo or my Super Nintendo, I had to give my Nintendo and my games to my cousin. When I got my PlayStation 1, I had to give my Super Nintendo and all my games. At the time, I'm young. I didn't care. Why would I ever play these old games? I got Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil. And now I'm like, I want all that stuff back.
Yeah, exactly. Give it back.
Games. I'm like, I was looking through my list of games. I owned Contra 3, owned Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. I don't have those anymore, and I just found that out because I was pulling out the games. Haven't played them in forever, but I'm like, I kind of need to have those.
Yep. That's
Gotta
a must-have.
But anyways,
All
thanks
right, Wolf,
again.
close us out.
Yep, close us out, Wolf.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks everybody for being here. It's been awesome. It's been real. And I just like Larson said, I just like hanging with my friends and talking about games. And look how we were just spitfiring and we were just talking about the evolution of Sony and why and won't they put out a Vita 2. And like we could talk about, like, seriously, if we weren't pressed for time, I could probably talk for another hour before I fell asleep easily. And I just love doing this. I mean, to me, it's just fun. I don't look at it as, other than, it's taking some time out of our schedules, but it's just so much fun. And I enjoy this. And I hope everybody hops on Endgame's YouTube channel and gives him a sub. Same with D Thomas. And, we can't forget our host, Dantron69K, man. We're trying to get him to 1,000 subscribers badly, so this man could start monetizing because he does a lot of cool stuff. And, so if you guys could give him a shout out on your channels, that'd be awesome. And I appreciate you guys being
the
on.
video. Anyone that's watching this, like the video. It doesn't take anything more than 1 second to like that video. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the notification bell. You'll get notified for the next supplement episode. Or maybe they're going to come back with a brand new console, that you've never played, or it's one of your favorites,
Yeah. Unless you hated the episode, then you don't have to like it. Unless you feel like it.
Well,
you
the
know,
next
right.
one will be
you know what
better.
I'm saying?
So
Even if
still.
you hate this episode, liking it. No, I'm just kidding. Don't encourage me. No, I'm just that. Anyways, I want to say thanks again to everybody. This has been a lot of fun. I want to get another supplemental episode in here. We've got a lot of other ideas going. So again, to D Thomas from NC, Endgame Arcade, my co-pilot Wolfman. Thanks again, guys. And until next time, later.
Peace.
Peace.